Mr. Mayor, we have about 45 seconds.
30.
All right, everybody. Chief, did you already get them to sign up if they wanted to speak?
Does anybody want to speak, or is anybody here to speak? If you're not on the agenda, you need to sign up. Going once.
Okay.
All right, Mayor, it's 1 o'clock.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and we welcome you to the Village of Ruidoso regular council meeting. It's June 14th, and it is 1 o'clock. If you'll join me, we'll have a moment of silence, and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. And we have a lot on the agenda today, so we're going to get into it real quick, start moving forward. Roll call, please, Ron.
Mayor Crawford,
Here.
Councilor Salas,
Here.
Councilor Letterman,
Here.
Councilor Eby,
Here.
Councilor Hooker,
Here.
Councilor Coughlin,
Here.
Councilor Jackson.
Here.
All present, Mayor, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. If I could get a motion to approve today's agenda with giving the chair the ability to make some moving things around a little bit.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the agenda as presented and giving the chair the right to move items for discussion as needs must.
I second that.
Ron, do I need to include the removal of item number 1 in regular in that motion?
Mayor Crawford, that is correct, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, if you could add, we're going to have to remove regular item number 1, the discussion of possible action on appointment of the emergency manager and administration of the oath, because we're still haven't got that closed out yet.
Let me bring that one up. Mr. Mayor, I would move as a friendly amendment to exclude and withdraw regular item number 1, entitled Discussion and Possible Action on Appointment of Emergency Manager and Administration of Oath of Office.
Second.
You accept that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, Ron.
Councilor Jackson,
Aye.
Councilor Hooker,
Aye.
Councilor Coughlin,
Aye.
Councilor Salas,
Aye.
Councilor Letterman,
Aye.
Councilor Eby.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Are the fish still biting there, Councilor Letterman?
Not for me, they're not.
Oh, okay, you're not a fisherwoman. Okay, I just checking.
No, just a kayaker.
Oh, just a kayaker. Okay.
Yeah, we're leaving tomorrow.
I imagine 2 weeks of kayaking's enough for anybody,
Yep, I'm ready to come home.
especially in Oklahoma. That's why you're here, right?
Easy.
All right, and so we have around 30 consent items, and so I've asked Mayor Pro Tem if he would start off reading those items. So
Read
there
the
you go.
first 10. Thank you, Mayor. The consent regular items as listed. Item 1, approval of governing body minutes, April 28, 29, 2022, workshop meeting, budget workshop. Meeting minutes from May 3rd, 2022, workshop meeting, May 10th, 2022, regular meeting, May 23, 2022, special meeting. Item 2, approval of ratification of emergency facilities and land use agreement with U.S. Forest Service for use as Hellbeast. Item 3, adoption of resolution 2022-23, adopting a credit card policy according to requirements of Department of Finance and Administration. Number 4, adoption of Resolution 2022-24, a resolution establishing fees for building evaluation charts. Number 5, approval of Memorandum of Understanding between the Village of Ruidoso and the County of Lincoln for the provision of regulation services of residential and commercial construction within certain specified areas of the County of Lincoln, with the following amendment under the termination clause, that this agreement may be terminated by either party upon delivery of the last 90 days written notice to the other at any time during the term of the agreement or 3 months prior to the effective date of the termination. By such termination, neither party may nullify or void any obligation required to have been performed. And I just got to back up to number 5. It was striked out on the term. This agreement shall not become effective until approved by both parties. Item number 6, approval of third renewal agreement with Ruidoso Valley Chamber of Commerce for professional service for operation of both the Ruidoso Visitor Center and the Billy the Kid Visitor Center. Item number 7, approval of contract amendment number 1 with White Sands Construction, Inc. through Cooperative Education Services, CES, on the Horton Complex building renovations project located at 237 Service Road, decreasing the contract amount by $4,968.30, including gross receipt tax, and requesting an extension of 56 calendar days. Item 8, approval of Memorandum of Understanding between the Village of Ruidoso as fiscal agent for the Lincoln County Ruidoso DWI program and Linda Han to provide funds in the amount of $30,000 for prevention specialist services for the DWI program. Item 9, approval of contract with Hope Floats Addiction Counseling, LLC, to provide individual and group domestic violence offender treatment in the amount not to exceed $6,000, including gross receipt tax. Item 10, approval of Memorandum of Understanding with Capitan Therapy and Behavioral Health, LLC, to provide individual and group domestic violence offender treatment in the amount not to exceed $6,000, including gross receipt tax. I'll pass.
It was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
That was.
Yeah. Councilor Hooker?
Yes, sir. Item number 11, approval of Memorandum of Understanding between the Village of Ruidoso as fiscal agent for the Lincoln County Ruidoso DWI program and Region 9 to provide funds in the amount of $42,000 for Protecting You, Protecting Me, prevention classes in the schools of Lincoln County. Item 12, approval of Memorandum of Understanding between the Village of Ruidoso as fiscal agent for the Lincoln County Ruidoso DWI program and the Town of Carrizozo as administrative authority for the Carrizozo Police Department for DWI enforcement and overtime reimbursement of costs. Item 13, approval of Memorandum of Understanding between the Village of Ruidoso as the fiscal agent for the Lincoln County Ruidoso DWI program and the Village of Capitan as the administrative authority for the Capitan Police Department for DWI enforcement activities and reimbursements of costs. Item 14, approval of Memorandum of Understanding between the Village of Ruidoso as fiscal agent for the Lincoln County Ruidoso DWI program and the City of Ruidoso Downs as the administrative authority for the Ruidoso Downs Police Department for DWI enforcement activities and reimbursement of costs. Item 15, approval of Memorandum of Understanding between the Village of Ruidoso as the fiscal agent for the Lincoln County Ruidoso DWI program and the Village of Ruidoso as the administrative authority for the Ruidoso Police Department for DWI enforcement and reimbursement of cost. Item 16, approval of memorandum of understanding between the Village of Ruidoso as the physical agent for the Lincoln County Ruidoso DWI program and the County of Lincoln as the administrative authority for the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office for DWI enforcement activities and reimbursement of cost. Item 17, approval of sub-grant agreement between the Village of Ruidoso as the physical agent for the Lincoln County Ruidoso DWI program and the Department of Public Safety, State of New Mexico, acting through the Grant Accountability and Compliance Section for DWI enforcement and their reimbursement of costs. Item 18, approval of joint powers agreement between the Village of Ruidoso and the Board of Education for the Ruidoso Municipal School District regarding placement of a school resource officer at the Ruidoso Municipal Schools. 19, approval of joint powers agreement between the Village of Ruidoso and the Ruidoso Downs Racetrack regarding providing security for special events for the 2022 race season. Item 20, approval of joint powers agreement between the Village of Ruidoso and the Ruidoso Jockey Club regarding providing security for special events for the 2022 race season.
Good. Item number 21, approval of Task Order C, attachment to professional services agreement between the Village of Ruidoso and Armstrong Consultants, Inc. for further description of services of engineer to reconstruct runway 1230 and reconstruct taxiway B and connector taxiways. 22, approval of sub-recipient grant agreement with the State of New Mexico Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management for fiscal year 2020, Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities, BRIC, to update local multi-jurisdictional, multi-hazard mitigation plan in the amount of $73,500. No cents. Number 23, approval of a joint funding agreement, number 22, RGJFA 23, for the United States Department of the Interior, United States Geological Survey for the operation of USGS stream flow and precipitation gauges with the village cost share of $54,189. No cents. Item number 24 is approval of first renewal agreement with John Shoemaker and Associates, Inc. for professional hydrogeological water supply and water right consulting services and task orders RFP number 2021-007P-08, RFP number 2021-007P-09, and RFP number 2021-007P-10 in the amount not to exceed $50,000, $25,000, $50,000 respectively, including gross receipts tax. Item number 25, approval of first renewal agreement with Henninghausen, Olson, and McCray, LLP for professional legal services as water rights attorneys for the Village of Ruidoso, and task order RFP number 2021-012P-02 in the amount of $80,000, no cents, including gross receipts tax. Item number 26 is the approval of third renewal agreement with Ye and Associates, Inc. for professional engineering services for dam improvements, compliance, and planning projects for the Grindstone and Alto Lake Dams, RFP number 2019-008. Item number 27 is approval of the Ruidoso Public Library Collection Development Policy. Number 28, approval of the FINRA Investor Education Foundation, otherwise known as the Foundation Grant Agreement number 2022-LDR-11 for the purpose of enhancing the library's personal finance collections in the amount of $5,000, no cents. Item number 29, approval of lease agreement with Teresa Korn for radio tower property located in the city of Ruidoso Downs. Item number 30, approval of assignment of lease agreement between Cliff Rowe and David Stepp for the land lease for hangar P6 with the Village of Ruidoso at the Sierra Blanca Regional Airport. And that concludes the 30 that we had. Is there would someone like to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, move to approve the consent regular items as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Ron, roll call.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Eby,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman. Counselor.
Aye.
Counselor Salas.
Aye.
Counselor Hooker.
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone. Public input. We have any public input for today, Ron?
None there.
No public input. Okay, we'll move on to mail reports and presentations. Item number 1 is the introduction of new Village of Ruidoso employees and promotions. We love this part because A, we have employees, we have new employees, and we get to promote some folks. So if you're here and you'll stand up, and we just want to get to know who you are, and we want you guys to know who we are, so that if there's ever anything that goes on, if you see us at the grocery store, you can say hi, please do. New hires, temporary employees, Eric Helmstetler. At the water park manager, thank you very much. And so we'll be seeing a lot more of you. You've got your handful this summer. So how's it going so far?
It's a lot of fun.
Is it a lot of fun? How's the water?
About 70 degrees.
No way, is it really? Just another 20 degrees and I'm there, baby. Thank you. Chris Gelbreth, temporary aquatic manager.
He's not here.
Out there. Marie Griego. Hi, Marie. Glad to have you aboard, and this is your council. And we usually have you guys walking all up and down here, but I told that was a little embarrassing, and we're not here to embarrass you, so we're welcoming you aboard. Gray Mowry.
He's not here.
Not here. And one of my personal favorites, Michael Dudman, temporary customer service rep. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Mayor.
So how long has it been going so far?
It's been going great. And I want to thank you for the opportunity. And I want to say I've never worked with a better bunch of people. They're phenomenal.
Oh, my God. How much did that cost you?
How much?
I'm gonna say,
A week's pay or what?
He's trying to remove temp from his
But Michael here is one of the folks, you know, we've had struggles as everybody has across America, but particularly here in Ruidoso with help in summertime and all of that. So we've been working with Ricky Cerna. I want to keep calling him Cerna, our Workforce Solutions Interim Secretary, about how can we get retirees that still have a lot to give, tons of knowledge and expertise back into the community to help us. So we appreciate you jumping on and being the first one on board, and hopefully you enjoy it, and looking forward to having you around. So thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you at the dog park. He's one of the dog park crew.
Mayor, I was just going to say that, you know, the mayor's new strategy is pretty innovative, is recruiting at the dog park.
You bet. We recruit wherever we can. So now then we have new hires, Alexandria Valdez, recreation leader. Hi there. Oh, yes, I remember you. We're so glad to have you. Tons and tons of compliments, Rodney, for you guys and you, that I had families that dropped off their boys at the wilderness camp, and they were a little nervous until they saw you and Romy. And I forgot who else they said was there, but they said their kids had an absolute blast. Good pick on Cornerstone Bakery for the lunch. They love everything about it. So you guys, remarkable job, and thank you for doing a good one. Appreciate you. Glad to see you back. Last time was at the ice skating rink?
Yeah, the ice rink.
Awesome. Tommy Armstrong, Animal Control Officer. Good to have you here, sir. And hopefully you have a long tenure with the Village of Ruidoso. And is there anything you want to say?
Not really.
Well, we're glad to have you aboard. Thank you very much. And this is your mom and dad here?
Yes, sir.
Would you like to introduce them?
This is my dad, Tom. My mom, Lynn. This is my wife and daughter.
Hi, wife and daughter. Glad to have you guys. Welcome to the hopefully the health plan and the retirement plan. It's awesome. We have a great one. So, Tom Senior, it's good to see you guys again, and thank you for coming in. Daniel Rael, is that the way I say it?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Daniel is a firefighter. Welcome aboard. Thank you very much. Some of Ruidoso's finest, and have you already had some exercise since you've been here? Yeah, all the fires. Thank you very much for what you do. Appreciate it. Austin Russell, firefighter. Hello, Austin. It's good to see you. Were you at the airport before? You guys are working into firefighting.
Yeah, I was out there for.
Long time, yeah. Awesome. Okay, well, great for getting in the program and moving around. Thank you very much. Rachel T. Okay, Rachel, say it for me, please. Okay, one more time for the rest of us. Tisnotis. Okay. Project coordinator, and this is a very busy time for this department, and we appreciate what you guys do, keeping track of the 50, 60, some projects that we've got in process and that we will have in process from time to time. So thank you for being here, and if you need help, you know where to go. Thank you. Elizabeth Herbina. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hello.
Glad to see you almost. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for what you do. We appreciate it. She's in the custodial department. Derek Blake, maintenance. Hello, Derek.
Hello.
Welcome aboard. You guys local?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to have you. I usually ask that question of everybody because housing's hard to find. So you've already got a house.
Yes, I live in this flare.
Okay, awesome. Well, we're glad to have you. Thank you very much. And again, this is your council, your manager, deputy manager. So if any of you guys need anything, and my phone's always open, just reach out to us. Okay, promotions. This is always nice. Jim Ostick, foreman to supervisor.
Mayor, he's actually working with Cutler right now.
Okay, that's why I have a little note that says will not be able to make it working on Cutler project. So that goes for Ryan Blanchard, heavy equipment operator to foreman.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and everybody's familiar with the Cutler project, started basically today on Gavilan Canyon, staging and everything, and hopefully they'll get started and make hay on that, then moving to Paradise Canyon, and then finishing up with Warrior Drive. So thank them and congratulate them on our behalf, if you would, Josh. Okay, thank you very much.
I do appreciate having somebody there on Meander to kind of enforce that detour, because people will bypass that and go out on the Gavilan and then complain about the traffic backup. So thanks for whoever idea it was, I'm sure it was yours, to have the forethought to have somebody there.
And I will state, all you new employees, welcome aboard and stuff, but you're under no obligation to hang out in the whole meeting, but maybe you might want to, because it's nice and cooling down in here finally. It was hot earlier, but it won't offend us at all if you all get up and leave.
Nope, sure won't. Bye.
Thank you all.
And I just got a return call from that phone. Did you want to call him back? JJ? Ask him, you just want to call him later. Okay, now then we move on to item number 2, which is presentation on veterans therapy, Healing America's Heroes by Eddie Kane. Crane, I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Council,
They have Crane on there. They have Kane on there.
thank you very much for having me and
You
allowing
bet.
us to spend some time and introduce our program. We are Healing America's Heroes. Healing America's Heroes was established in 2014 in Chama, New Mexico. We were able to obtain the facilities at Fort Stanton, the Lincoln Pines Correctional Facility. And through that, we have opened our veteran wellness and our veteran outreach center. We are actually going to be able to improve the capacity to help veterans, kind of like, I'm sure everybody in this room is familiar with Angel Fire and the Vietnam Memorial up there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we want to kind of do what they're doing up there down here and offer our services to the veterans and in this southwest area down here. By us moving to Lincoln Pines, the facility there in Fort Stanton, we're actually able to reach out to the VA hospital in Tucson, the Fort Bliss, Big Spring, Texas, Amarillo, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
Plus Albuquerque as well. Our program is Healing America's Heroes. We help veterans with PTSD through fly fishing and horse therapy. We are a recreational therapeutic program. We are the only recreational therapeutic program in the state of New Mexico that's actually extending their services out to veterans. Okay? I've got a short little presentation here. I'd like to introduce you to, this is a little 4.5 minute video that'll introduce Healing America's Heroes. It does a better job explaining than what I do. And then we have a couple of slides on our properties out there at Fort Stanton. So if you wouldn't mind, sir, this, all this pictures that you're gonna see are from the Chama area. We're working on an introduction video for in Lincoln County, but we're in the process, so
Okay.
enjoy, guys. This is a good video.
If technology will work.
Yeah, well, that's like,
So
that's why you're running that.
this will be with the pictures from Chama, and then you guys are getting set up out here.
And we're out there, and if that doesn't work, well, we'll just move on. Just roll on, no problem. We'll go to the next slide.
Let me try it one more time while
it's not
wanting to.
Bye-bye. See you guys.
So, right
Oh,
now,
they want you to stand closer to the green microphone,
this one right here.
the round one, the round
circle.
one.
Yes, sir.
The green light.
There it is.
I hate to have my back.
You can, no.
You know, you're fine. Well, what you're doing is talking to all the people online that are listening to you. So
Okay,
thank you guys for letting me know we couldn't hear him.
Yes, thank you. See what happens. But anyway, right now the facility out there at Fort Stanton, it's a Lincoln Pines youth facility that was shut down in 2015. We have taken it over. May the 28th, we were finally able to take it over. And it sits on 70 acres. We have 30,000 square feet of space. Right now, we have the ability to feed 50 people and sleep 50 people at one time. Our veteran program is a 5-day program. Okay, you either sign up for the fly fishing program or the horse therapy program, and you're in that program for a week. If you get into the fly fishing program, along with the fly fishing, you also do fly tying. We have a fly tying instructor as well. And then in the horse therapy program, you're actually issued a horse after the first day, and that horse is actually yours for the rest of the week. And it's up to whatever the veteran or the individual wants to do with their horse during that time. A lot of people want to improve their horseback riding skills. Some people just want to learn how to braid the mane and tail and groom them, and it's all therapy. It's all therapy. All of our horses are over the age of 21, probably closer to 30, but they're all very good, gentle animals, and they're very therapeutic.
If you could maybe sit down at the table and talk into it, the people are saying they want to hear you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, but they can, and I know it's very interesting to them, and we want to make sure. There you go.
Oh, now turn it
Now
on
bump
because it went
again
off.
So it turns green. One more side of it. Yeah,
Where-
you gotta hold your mouth.
there it
on
is.
There, no. There you go.
Nope. Somebody's playing with you.
There you go.
There
Try that.
Don't breathe.
There you go. Okay. Now, Mr. Crane, let's see. They just want to hear what you're saying.
Okay, what I was saying is our facility out at Fort Stanton, our address is 115 Fort Stanton Road. It's the old Lincoln Pines Correctional Facility. We sit on 70 acres right now. It's we made a deal with the state of New Mexico to lease this program, to lease a facility out there, and we've got a 20-year lease with them. So we're going to be here for 20 years.
So the people, folks will be staying there at the old Fort Stanton area.
Correct, sir. Yes.
And then you have horses out there. You have your video showing.
There you go. There you go.
And so you'll have instructors and people working
Correct,
out
sir.
there.
Correct, sir. We got a fly fishing instructor. We got a fly tying instructor, and then I've run the horse therapy program, and we've got all assistants and
Wow.
volunteers and stuff like that.
Where do you go fly fishing?
We actually have some private water right outside of Ruidoso Downs.
Uh-huh.
And then we are working with BLM on cleaning up the river restoration project down there east of Lincoln.
Uh-huh.
Yes, sir. And we've got that 2-mile strip down there that we're working on getting it cleaned out and making it available to our handicapped veterans. Actually, we've got a location there where we're able to set a platform and strap our wheelchair veterans down, you know.
Awesome.
So we're also, okay, here you
I
go.
want to try it only because,
Please do.
let's see what it does.
I think you've given a pretty good, you're
Yeah.
rocking
And
it.
if you guys want, okay, you guys are in trouble. It's
Has it
on
got
now.
Hear the
audio with it?
music.
Only thing that's playing on the background though, that's the thing. Watch, in the background it's playing, there's so many windows open. That's the bad thing.
Is that loud enough? Is that?
Yeah.
No, there's too many things going on.
Well, you know what? Just skip that. Just skip that. Important parts is what we got in Ruidoso, not Chama. That's old James Barber. That James Barber, he was a counselor at Los Alamos National Laboratory. And what he did is he represented the veterans that would get in trouble, first time offenses, DWI, something like that. And he helped them keep their clearances. He was up there for 35 years and now he's with us. And that's Dan Gandy is our flight tying instructor. He's a Beirut veteran. You know, this is a very interesting program. Why don't we just forget that, sir, and just go on to the next one?
There you go.
The next,
Here we go, now we're gonna.
all right.
You think?
Don't tap it. It'll turn red.
Move your mouse.
This will basically give you the idea of what the program was.
What it's going to look like here, similar.
Yes, correct.
Good morning, this is Eddie Crane with Healing America's Heroes. We're in Novato, New Mexico, home of Healing America's Heroes.
That's our therapy portion right there. Thank you. There's a story behind that portion.
Healing America's Heroes
I know
is
where
a
you can get more
501c3
horses.
nonprofit organization located in northern New Mexico. The mission of Healing America's Heroes is to provide a therapeutic environment for veterans and active service members who suffer from PTSD, traumatic brain injury, or military sexual trauma.
HAH offers recreational programs that include equine therapy, fly fishing, along with skills building workshops. All lodging and meals are included for free for all applicants accepted into the Healing America's Heroes program. Contact Healing America's Heroes today to register or volunteer. Together, we stand.
My name's Ted Skiviak. I came to Healing America's Heroes. I met Eddie when we were both on the board for the New Mexico Military Museum. I think the program means a lot, and it helps you, at least it helped me with learning that my life wasn't over just because of an injury.
This gentleman is a
When
retired
you've been in
master.
traumatic events, have you ever tried to explain it? And so what we do at Healing America's Heroes is we afford that opportunity. When you see these people come in, both the men's and the women's group, and you watch these veterans get around each other, see in combat and in those combat situations, they know they've got their back. They know they're covered. It's like this one veteran looked at me and he said, you know, when I'm around these guys, I'm not scanning the rooftops anymore. You know, I'm relaxed. Well, once you get in that relaxed mode, that's where learning takes place.
You know, fishing for me is not just about catching fish.
That's one of our.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I love to catch fish. But for me, it's a kind of meditation. It's a therapy. Most of the places, if not all the places I go, to fish have extreme solitude. You feel the water around your legs when you're in the river. You have the mountains. And what happens after a while is all that chatter in your mind goes away. And really, it's a form of meditation.
I'm Eddie Crane, founder of Healing America's Heroes. You have just seen what we do and how we do it for our veterans. We can help veterans, and we want to help our veterans. We're all for our veterans, and we're in northern New Mexico. Come and visit us, please. Thank you.
Undo your screen there, bottom right. Bottom right, make it go smaller. Yep, and you'll have control. There you go.
There should be a couple more slides within. So, okay, so yeah, there you go. There you go. Okay, this right here is Fort Stanton, New Mexico. That's the new home of Healing America's Heroes. Like I was telling you guys before, this sits on 70 acres. Okay, we've got 30,000 square feet of space. We can feed 50 people and we can sleep 50 people at one time. This is a fantastic opportunity for the state of New Mexico to become the #1 veteran state in the Union, and Lincoln County to be the #1 county for veterans.
That'd be awesome to be #1 in a good category. That's great.
We're working on it, my friend. Thank you,
Good,
sir.
thank you.
Mr. Mayor. Go ahead, sir. You know, the wide open space is nothing better. You know, everyone here, that's why we're here. You know, I grew up in Captain and Fort Stanton. You know, so, and that in the 70s, I moved back here and had a business here from 1977 to 1988. Then moved back, and now I've made the vicious circle. I'm back home, so it's a great feeling. This is some of the facilities that are out there. That actually is what we call the Alpha Room, and that facility right there sleeps 24 people. And we have 2 facilities like that. We've got a commercial dining room and a commercial kitchen. You know, we're open for. Besides our events that we have for our veterans, our veteran program is a 5-day program, okay? And we take in 10 veterans at a time. 5 veterans will go into the fly fishing program, and 5 veterans will go into the horse therapy program, okay? And they usually come in on a Sunday evening, okay? They get introduced to the facilities, they get issued their rooms, they kind of get introduced. Sunday night, we have a nice little barbecue, kind of a little entertainment, and get ready for the program. Our breakfast starts at 7:30 to 8:30, and our program starts at 9, goes from 9 to 5. And at the end of the first day in our horse therapy program, you're actually issued a horse. Okay, and that horse is yours for the rest of the week. Now, I've had guys tell me, man, it's been 30 years since I've ridden a horse, but I'd like to learn how to ride again. And so we have programs, we have a program every day, okay? But then after you fulfill that obligation to that program, then you're welcome to go back into working on better riding, or being a better groom, or braid its mane and tail, or just talk to it. They're great therapists. And so that's a 1,500-pound or 1,200-pound lie detector. It doesn't, you know, and it won't tell a thing. It won't tell on you. You can talk to it and say anything you want. Go ahead, next slide. So that's the main interest into Fort Stanton, you know, into our facility. And there's some of our therapy horses right there. we help both the female veterans, okay? Now, along with female veterans, they're, along with their PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, they also have to deal with MST. I don't know if anyone's a veteran here in the facility here, but MST is military sexual trauma, and it's not necessarily physical. It could be, emotional, just different. But, and then we also help our traumatic brain injury and our wheelchair-bound veterans as well. And we both help male and female veterans. That guy right there is actually that guy right there is Dan Gandy. That's our fly fishing instructor. He's a Beirut veteran. And we have, what do we have? We have 6 therapy horses, and we got 3 therapy horses in training. So we got a good set of horses. We've got every one of these horses that are in our therapy program are over 21 years old. That one that you saw there where that gentleman was speaking, the Command Sergeant Major, Ted Skibiak, that horse there is 30 years old. He's a registered Arabian, and the gentleman that has spent over 1,000 hours with that particular horse, he learned how to ride with one hand. If you saw in that video, we had cut a broomstick off, and we screwed the reins into the broomstick, so he was able to do his stop, turn left and right. And so he nominated this horse for Support Animal of the Year in 2021, and he won. First time a horse has ever won that deal. It's always been a dog. I think one time he was a pig. But, and our fishing program, we have great instructors. I think we've got 2 or 3 instructors, and we got some good volunteers in our both fly fishing and horse therapy program. Go ahead, sir. Fly tying program, again, that's Dan Gandy. He's a Beirut veteran. He was part of that, the incident when we lost 240 veterans. He was part of this deal. There it is. Almost got him. And thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce Healing America's Heroes to you, Mayor, and the council. And one of the things I would like to do is invite everyone out there. If everyone has a brochure of mine, okay, and you got my phone number on it. If you guys would ever like to come out and have a tour of the facility, it'd be an honor and a pleasure. We could maybe even set up a little lunch for everyone.
That sounds.
We've got an outstanding chef, by the way.
All right.
Bernie Davila, and he's the head chef at Alto Cafe, and he's going to be our head chef once we get rolling and get going. And our facility is also open to, like if we ever want to have any meetings, board meetings, anything like that, any business meetings. So we're always open to that. We got a great facility, and we have 30,000 square feet of space, for Christ's sake, on 70 acres. So thank you again.
That's exciting. Thank you, Eddie, for putting this together. Whatever, we got 2 veterans here.
Good.
This one and that one down there.
Well, Ted Skibiak and I served in Iraq
Oh, my
together.
God, don't tell me.
Nope. He was my platoon sergeant. I was his platoon leader.
Well, then you know Ted.
Oh, I do. I could tell you stories. But we'll leave that. It's a public meeting, so we'll leave that alone. Yes, sir.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Mr. Hooker.
Yep.
Mayor.
So
God
you
bless.
bet. Thank you, Eddie.
I got my grandson at the airport. I mean, in the library. So I got.
Okay, you bet.
He said this was boring. Thank you.
Well, good. Thank you very much. That's good stuff. Real exciting stuff. Thank you. Okay, we'll, I think I'll skip what I was gonna put in there, but we'll move on to boards and commissions. And we have a couple of appointments. And so Robert can get out of here and get back to work. Okay. That's one of the wonderful things about the Village of Ruidoso is that we have so many different boards for every different thing that we do. And we have all these volunteers. I just want to make sure that I say that in public so Robert's not expecting a check. So, what I'm asking council is, I'm putting up a couple of names, new appointment to the Lodgers Tax Board, Robert Duncan. Stand up, Robert.
All right.
Everybody ought to know Robert, probably knows his brother. Tell us just a little bit about yourself, Robert.
I've been in Ruidoso for 6 years, moved here from Eastern Canada where I semi-retired from real time. property managers and real estate agents and all that kind of stuff. I just, wanted to thank Lynn for putting a gun in my hand because.
Yeah.
Which is fine, we like to do as much as we can for the village, we always have, our company always has, tried to do everything the village has, and we look to continue doing that in the future. And I should mention, when Lynn asked me about sitting on this board, I didn't really know a lot about it, you kind of throw yourself at work, so I came to that last lodger's tax meeting, and it was really amazing to see how much stuff's going on. Because even though I'm in this business, you just don't really realize how much going on weekend after weekend after weekend. So it's pretty exciting. Because at that point, I got pretty excited about So thank you. That's who I am. I'm part of the community. And he's my lawyer.
Thank you, Robert, for serving. And then we're still getting this close to putting that Upper Canyon.
Yeah, I got some other information.
Okay, because we need to get that wrapped up because our road men in the back over there, we're getting ready to do some stuff up there on the traffic circle and moving through. So we're doing. So anyway, thank you. Next is Dustin McEwen to the Cemetery Board. I don't know if Dustin's here or not.
I don't see him.
Okay, but we appreciate his service. So with that, I'd put that up for a motion and see if you guys would approve thereof.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve your nominations for the boards and commissions as you presented.
Second.
Mayor, who was I'm sorry, I did not get the name of the people that you're putting up. Dustin McEwen and who else?
Robert Duncan.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
You got it? Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, Ron.
Counselor Hooker.
Aye.
Counselor Salas.
Aye.
Counselor Letterman.
Aye.
Counselor Eby.
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin.
Aye.
Counselor Jackson.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, folks. Now we'll move on to the village manager's report. As always, the thing's 3 inches thick or whatever. There's always something going on. So, Mr. Dodge, you want to move forward?
Mayor, Council, we did submit a, fully detailed report from all the directors. At this time, I just go ahead.
I think your microphone's off.
Mayor and Council, is that better?
Yes.
Yes.
We did submit a full report from all the departments, but, right now I'd like to just go ahead and defer to Rodney to talk about two of the upcoming events, Ride Ruidoso and Aspen Fest. So, Rodney?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Councilors. So a few of we say upcoming, but it'll be in the fall. Ride Ruidoso is an event that will be an addition to the traditional motorcycle rally event in September. We will be partnering with organizations in the community to create a benefit for those affected by the McBride fire. As part of this initiative, we're hosting what we're calling Ride Ruidoso Week. A week full of activities will culminate with a headlining concert to help the victims of the fire. Proceeds from this benefit will go towards charitable foundations. The charitable foundations that we've selected at this point are the Lincoln County Community Foundation, the Lincoln County Shelter Fund, and the Ruidoso Housing Trust Fund, which are all, I believe, organized under the Lincoln County Community Foundation. So events that we're looking at hosting during that week are, along with that concert on the weekend, are vehicle shows like four-wheel drive shows, truck shows, classic cars. We're looking at promoting our Ruidoso Adventure Tours with guided tours throughout the week, again, that concentrate on the 6 different tours associated with the Ruidoso Adventure Tours. The Village of Ruidoso is the main host of that event, and we are seeking sponsorships to aid with this benefit. We'll be offering sponsorships at several different partnership levels, hoping to attract businesses, community organizations, arts and crafts vendors, retail vendors, and individuals. They will all be provided the opportunity to contribute toward the cause. So we're looking for one major sponsorship of the concert on Saturday. Again, it's a major sponsorship. We're looking at $20,000 for that sponsorship level. That will provide them the opportunity to contribute towards the entertainment, the coordination of entertainment, the right for vending of food and exclusive alcohol sales. Again, there's multiple levels. We have a $5,000 levels for non-competing food vendors, and then we're offering vendor sponsorship levels for people who want to participate at the concert, and then as well as individual ticket sponsors. So every person that purchases a ticket will essentially be a sponsor of the event, and the proceeds will be contributed towards that benefit. Again, this is a benefit event that we're looking at adding to the traditional rally and providing other opportunities in the community during that week.
Mayor, if I may provide just a couple of clarifications. The event isn't just for the McBride fire victims, it's for, future events as well. So we're trying to equip these nonprofits so that they have resources moving forward for other type of disasters that may help in the area. The second part, it's the Lincoln County Community Foundation, the Shelter Fund, and then Ruidoso's Housing Trust Fund and Land Bank. So that's a trust fund and land bank that the village of Ruidoso is in charge of. So I just want to provide clarification. Those are the three beneficiaries.
Okay, thank you. That's good news.
Mayor, in addition to that, we have gotten an official signing from Los Lonely Boys for that event.
Okay, and that's where the bulk of the sponsorship's going?
Yes, it'll be a major contributor towards the entertainment.
Okay. And Tim Coughlin, do you know who the Los Lonely Boys are?
I've heard of them.
Good.
It's some boys that don't have a lot of friends.
They're lost. That was the Lost Boys.
Oh, the Lost.
Lost Lonely Boys.
Okay.
These are just lonely Lost Boys. Can you sing what's that famous song they've got?
Perfect.
It's going to be really good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So another fall event that we're looking at partnering with the Chamber of Commerce, which is Aspen Fest weekend. The Village of Ruidoso has been a longtime partner with them, and recently we've expanded that partnership to include the after party in Wingfield Park to create more of a day-long event in the community. And so this year we're looking at capitalizing on some of the projects that the village has going on. And so we're looking at putting on an Aspen Fest Folk Music, Art, and Heritage Festival. It'll be a 2-day event that will be held throughout the community. Of course, the chamber will still host the parade. As far as the after party goes, we're looking at proposing to bring in some folk music bands, including roots, blues, New Mexican traditional, cowboy, western, progressive, Celtic, bluegrass, and folk.
Celtics? Boston's playing? Celtics.
Celtic.
All in a circle, it comes together,
The event, that concert and event will be held at the Wingfield Park after the Aspen Fest parade. Again, it'll have arts and crafts vendors, food vendors, alcohol vendors, as well as we're looking at the opportunities for some type of unique entertainment scheduled throughout the day. Some of the acts that have been confirmed at this point are the Jet Black Band, Lone Pignon, and the Young Dubliners. And again, it's that's also the conclusion of the Ruidoso Adventure Tours. And so on that day of the concert, we'll also be awarding the grand prize drawings for the Ruidoso sweepstakes.
So since you mentioned that, how's that going?
So I apologize, I meant to pick up the numbers. We're submitted a regular report on the overall numbers. We are tracking above beyond last year's final numbers. We're already have surpassed that, even with the closing of the National Forest, which has an impact on 3 of those tours. We're also coordinating with Carrie Gladden to provide some updated signage that will help us more focus on the tours that are open, which are the fishing tour, the disc golf, and the motorcycle tour. But again, our numbers are above and what the final numbers were last year.
So how are you handling the closure of, I'm sorry, I should let you ask all the questions.
No, you got it, Mr. Mayor.
How are you handling that? You changing up some of the tours? I mean,
So unfortunately, we don't have the ability to alter the routes. I mean, we could, but I'm not sure that we could come up with something with enough open trails. So we're focusing on the 3 tours that remain open. And, you know, as you can probably imagine from the report that we're getting, we're seeing the spike now of the completion of the disc golf tours, the fishing tours, and the motorcycle tours. And all 3 of those are all on open areas. The fishing tours are areas that, including Grindstone, Alto, and then 3 areas along the river that remain open.
Mayor, and the motorcycle tour could be done in any type of vehicle.
Right.
Doesn't necessarily have to be in a motorcycle.
okay.
And we'll be, again, promoting those. And along with that, the week in September, we'll be having tours where we're actually assisting people on them and working with like the 4-wheel drive club to lead a 4-wheel drive tour that week. And I'm sure we'll be reaching out to some of you all if you would like to participate. I'll stand for any questions you may have on either of those 2 events.
Anyone?
Nope, no questions.
And you have the Harley still over at Elegante?
Yes, sir. So, and then just as you mentioned that, so we stage a couple of the OHV and the camp trailer at our events. Currently, we have the motorcycle staged in the MCM Elegante lobby. We have the kayak staged at the Billy the Kid Visitor Center in the Downs. And then I believe we have the bike at the Backcountry Adventures business.
Okay. Anything else?
Ronnie, can you just give us a little bit of an update on how the operations at the lakes are going?
So we've been open now, gosh, what is it, about 4 weeks? The first 2 weeks started off a little slower, and which is actually a good break in time for our staff, because we have a lot of new staff. Majority of them are high school age. And so those slower 2 weeks do really help with kind of getting them acclimated to the operation. And I think the other thing was people just getting out of school, and the spike in the temperatures, daily temperatures, is actually bringing the business up. So this past weekend was our busiest date yet. Our numbers exceeded in 3 days our previous 3 weeks revenue numbers. So it was extremely busy. We've added all of the features that we own are actually on site. And if you all have not visited, you know, we had scaled it back the last 2 years and last year because of COVID. But we have installed everything we own, a couple of different slides. And they've just all been very popular, not only with the visitors, but even when we promote it on our social media, we're getting a lot of traction on that.
So you're having to shift change them? You have so many kids or so many folks on it that you have to stop it and let other ones on?
So the way our operation works is when we reach capacity that we go into a rotation, a 45-minute rotation. And so those who are waiting in line, they'll be the first ones on for the next rotation. This weekend was the first time that we had to initiate the rotation. At that time, we were at 80 persons, and so we had, probably about 150 people at the time. Throughout the day, I think we had 300 people at one, tickets sold on Saturday. We do have a capacity of 100 persons, but it's all depending on, the amount of staff we have on hand. And so we do, or try to staff up for 100 on the weekends, with 5 guards at the water park. And then at the swimming pool, that has been very popular from opening day. I don't have the numbers, but we've had multiple days where we were at capacity. It's been very busy there.
And parking at Grandstone is,
Parking has not been an issue. We've not had a day where we've had to turn anyone away. We've had days that were very busy. Even like the free fishing day was busy, but we were never at capacity.
was that the kids' day?
Yes, it was the free day as well as the youth fishing days. And it was busy, but again, we didn't reach the point of capacity. And I had mentioned in a previous meeting, I think last month's meeting, we are only requiring, or we started the season with anticipation of only requiring reservations on holidays, and that's still working out. So our plan for the 4th of July weekend, we'll be opening up those reservations on Monday, June 20th. In anticipation of the July 4th weekend, so that will be the next weekend that we will be requiring reservations, and we'll be promoting that as well.
Okay. Sounds good.
Mayor and Council, I think, Mayor, you mentioned the Cutler project. It actually, the milling started yesterday and the paving will commence tomorrow. They're moving fairly quickly, and especially as they get out of the neighborhood area, they're going to be able to start moving very, very quickly up Gavilan Canyon. So, those millings, some of them are going to the county, some of them we're placing to improve the shoulder, and then we're going to be taking some of the ones that belong to us and placing in storage so that when we start to get ready to move forward on the housing development that we're working on, we're going to use that material for a all-weather road, and then, at some point in time, we may come back and look at paving those roads within that development area.
Could you touch on that, because the planning and zoning meeting?
Yes, I'll cover that here in a second, Mayor.
On the drawing?
On that. Once they finish the projects that they have slated for the village of Ruidoso and Lincoln County, working together on that Gavilan Canyon, Paradise, and Warrior Drive. They're going to be, if it's approved today, I can't remember, was that on consent? Was it already approved?
What's that?
From the Sedgwick and Meacham up to the circle? That's a regular item. So that one will be coming up. If that is approved, they'll be mobilizing to that area. But Ron and I have also been in discussion with the Highway Department and put in a request now that we have Cutler here in town to try to get Sedgwick and Meacham or portions of it resurfaced as well. And that looks like a very good possibility. I know that people are concerned, and we've had comments already, why are you guys paving right in the middle of the busy season? Well, the only time we can really pave is during the summer and spring months when temperatures are warm enough. So it's a little bit of inconvenience, but with these processes and opportunities that we have coming up, I think we're going to really get ahead of the curve as far as road maintenance and whatnot. So we're trying to take advantage of the opportunities as they exist, both on a funding opportunity and then equipment and material availability to really move those projects up and get a lot of resurfacing and repaving a lot of those maintenance projects complete. Eric Boyd is in Roswell this afternoon, visiting with the state engineer's office on return flow credits. If he gets back in time, he's going to come back in and he's going to cover some of our efforts on hazard mitigation and some of the drainage issues that we may be facing. We do have a plan, and we're moving forward with portions of that plan. But when he gets here, I would ask that we be able to recognize him when he does come in, and then we could give a full explanation.
That would be good. Tim, the order of the repaving, so Gavilan, then to Paradise Canyon, then Warrior, correct?
The Warrior is going to be second, just
Second,
because of the
okay.
staging of the equipment. And then that one's going to be a lot easier and quicker, and then they're going to move to Paradise.
I lost count, because at one time we were talking Paradise being done right first and then moving to Gavilan and.
Yes, if they would have been able to mobilize a couple of weeks ago, we're going to
Right.
try to hit Paradise first.
Okay.
Because we're scheduling the project to coincide with some of the county projects, culvert replacements and things of that nature. So that if they would have been able to mobilize earlier, we would have hit Paradise first.
Right. Okay.
Moving on with the manager's report, the next thing that I want to report on is the Planning and Zoning Board did have a special meeting to consider the conditional use permit on 1114 Meacham. We did present, the Planning and Zoning Board did approve the conditional use permit for the multi-dwelling development that we're working on that property. And the conditions that they placed on it are listed within the report. We have gone back and visited with our engineer, and he's very responsive. He's a gentleman out of Las Cruces that's an engineer. And he immediately made the changes. So the site development plan that you see here has incorporated everything into it that was requested by the Planning and Zoning Board. They did make a condition that they wanted to see at least 17 units, if not more. With this site plan, we're able to place 18 units on there, and then develop the additional parking spaces that they asked for. Those parking spaces do, work right with the drainage easement coming off of the Dollar General. So we've been able to accommodate all the conditions that have been requested. The driveway permit has been issued, on an emergency basis or by the Highway Department, but we're still going to proceed forward with updating the traffic plan with the Highway Department.
I was asked, is there going to be an ingress or an exit lane off of alongside Meacham from this?
Not at this time.
Okay.
That's one of the plans, and even as we look forward, some of the recommendations with the other housing development that we have on 11, I can't remember the exact address of our other property next to PNM, but, at some point in time, I think that whole area needs to be, reconfigured, going all the way to the light.
Right.
So,
I know that discussion's been going on, but that's where we thought there was, or they thought this would be the start of that and having that done, but.
Yeah, and that's something I think in our long-range traffic planning that, Ron and Samantha can address at the regional level. Start talking about studying that area and then improving the whole area, all the way from, basically the entrance from Elegante all the way to the light.
The light,
Needs to be,
White Mountain Drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a 3-lane where it cuts down to that 3-lane as opposed to the 4 with the center lane. Right now, the zoning certification's been completed, the site plan has been completed. We're working on design. We already have a layout for all the utilities. P&M is finalizing their design and layout on it. It's going to be all underground utilities, no overhead. So what we're anticipating is to have the whole site staked. I think it was next week that we're looking at, and then Dick and his department would go in and start doing the tree removal. So we're moving on that pretty aggressively. The bids for the homes, invitation for bids are due this Friday, this Thursday, and then we'll have a recommendation for a special meeting sometime thereafter. There has been 14 companies that have been engaged in that process, And as of yesterday, there were 6 companies that had submitted an intent to submit their bids. So that process is going well. The RFP on property management services was due last week. We did receive an offer, and the evaluation team's currently evaluating it, and then would be making a recommendation for contract negotiations. So we'll have that process ready to go. Zach, myself, and Ron did take a trip up to Albuquerque and meet with Mortgage Finance Authority. They're the organization in the state that is charged with administering compliance with the Affordable Housing Act, the Affordable Trust Act. There's 3 different acts that they brought up. And they do have the discretion to define low to moderate income, and they are in a position to make a determination of the 140% LMI, giving us and Taos, or the 2 communities that they specifically mentioned, fall into that category where they felt that they could raise the LMI to the 140.
Good.
And that's based on the medium household income in comparison to rental prices. And, that's where they're willing to make that type of a determination. And they will be processing. They've already sent us a draft grant loan agreement. They have increased the amount by an additional $80,000 and said, if you want to borrow more money, come to us and work that out too.
Good.
We did, and I don't know if I mentioned this at the last council meeting, but just for the record, the governor's office and DFA are in the process of granting us $1 million for the project. Then we have the legislative appropriations at $980,000, and the $1 million that the governing body has put in place for this project. So with the cost estimates that we've had, we're coming well within the project limits. And I also had a bank that does charitable donations contact me this afternoon, and they're considering granting, the acquisition of one of the modular homes as well. So I should know by tomorrow whether that does come through. But it's been a good project, as well as P&M has came in with a $20,000 donation for the project. Mayor, Council, if there's any questions, I'll stand for questions on any of the site development. We do intend to come back and, when we look at fencing, there's different types of fencing and things of that nature that, depending on how the council wants to handle that. We also need to deal with the naming of the property and the streets, so.
So y'all need to be thinking about that.
Tim, there on once a management company is selected, are they going to be the ones, how soon will the process start as far as screening applicants for a particular location?
Mayor, Council, there's going to be 2 different processes that we're actually going through. The first process is, these homes are being placed to directly benefit the victims of the McBride fire. So the victims that are currently displaced need to go through a process of registering, if they haven't already, with the FEMA for the disaster assistance. Those individuals will be given priority. We already have a list. The Lincoln Community Foundation has been working closely with those individuals and with us to compile that list. So as soon as we have the homes available, they'll be given priority. If they qualify for those benefits and have, deemed, having been affected by the McBride fire and are homeless and would be receiving the benefits, FEMA would cover the first 18 months of benefits. And then between then and, after that period of time, then we'd be working with them to find them either a permanent location or helping them get additional subsidies from the Regional Housing Authority or the New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority, hopefully helping to move those families into home ownership.
Well, that's great. That's great. What timeline do you see as far as possibly the victims moving in?
My goal is to have the first unit set by August 1st. Pretty aggressive timeline.
That's great.
Pretty good, huh?
Yeah, it's quick.
Yeah, I mean, Tim's done an awesome job wrangling these people in and holding their feet to the fire and all the promises that were made after the McBride fire. So he's done a lot of good work on that. Anything else?
Oh, Mr. Mayor, Manager Dodge, as we look at fencing, we might want to look at the requirements that we have for storage units. They're really more aesthetic than looking at a chain link fence. And since we already have those in place, it might be worthwhile to review those.
Okay. All right. Anything else from the manager? You might touch on a letter that went out yesterday on.
Samantha, you want to come down and talk about the addressing issues, concerns that we have and how we're going to address our current process?
Thank you, Mayor, council members. A letter was mailed out Friday, June 10th to all property owners along Sudworth Drive. The addresses were pulled from the Lincoln County Assessor's database, and that's where the letters were mailed. We do have letters prepared to hand deliver to the tenants. In the letter, it states they have 30 days to make the change to their, reflect their new address. After talking with community members, we realized 30 days is not sufficient for a business to update their address, especially when they have permits tied to that address. So we are sending an amended letter as well as making phone calls to the property owners that we have phone numbers for here from water billing and letting them know that we're going to go to 120 days for them to update their business address, and if they need additional time, then we'd be willing to work with them case by case to extend that. It is poor timing due to the summer season and just other high-stress business activities that they're under right now, and so we'd like to grant them more opportunity. The 30 days was just a general time frame to give them a goal to reach, just to have that frame set, but after talking through further, we need to extend the time frame. I think 30 days would be sufficient for residents, but definitely not a business owner, especially tied to a cannabis license or a liquor license or something that has more permits involved with it. So we are making that correction. We'll still have the town hall meeting this Thursday at 6 o'clock, and we'll go ahead and inform those that haven't called in by then. We have had a lot already reach out and contact us, and so we've been letting them know one by one, but we do plan to extend that message in person when the letters are handed out tomorrow as well as Thursday evening and by mail.
Thanks for being flexible. So you'll be, most of them got the letter last night, so.
Yeah, and thanks for doing that. I've gotten a couple of phone calls on that, and it's like 30 days. That's not a whole lot. Even from a residential standpoint, if you are one of those old school people that still get magazines, magazine changes are 4 to 6 weeks typically to get it in place. But I was thinking 90 days, 120 is very generous, and I think that's adequate time to work with them. So thanks for taking care of that.
Of course.
Thank you.
Appreciate the feedback.
Anything else?
Mayor, Council, unless you have any direct questions on any of the other operations, there is a lot going on. And, we're pushing forward, just trying to make sure we cover all our bases. As I mentioned, Mayor, as you stepped out, Eric may be stepping in a little bit later and covering the hazard mitigation portion of our response. So.
Yeah. And if Rodney could just update us on the streetlights, filling in the bottom of that, is that we're still working on that?
Yes, sir. They are performing that work, and they should be finished up this week. They'll have remaining is to pull the forms and then clean the little bit of concrete off the metal, but it should be completed this week.
How are your comments coming on your choice of music?
It's mixed. I haven't heard one in about a week, or last time I spoke.
So is
to you.
Greg still rotating? Y'all still rotating?
We're trying to not really rotate, just pick a genre and then go with it and see how it goes. I think we did have an issue where it turned off for a day or two. I'm not sure why the computer got switched off, but it's been, for the most part, I mean, positive comments.
Are we adequate, I guess is not the right word, proficient in cutting in if we need to give a public address off of that?
I'll have to look at cutting in, but we do have the remote capability from, what we've been doing is from the radio station, remoting in that way, and then also Tim Roberts has the ability to remote in off of his phone. I think the phone feature allows you to make adjustments on the fly, like volumes.
Or like a public service announcement,
Right.
like
But I'll have to look into
fire or sirens or.
I'll have to look into that just to get a more specific answer. But Greg is handling all the PSAs that are currently running. I'm not sure what the schedule is, but he can create those and upload those from the radio station.
Okay.
And so I would imagine that it would be much like he does when we have an emergency, like uploading it to the radio. It would be just a duplicated effort. Whatever he's creating for KRUI, he could then upload it at the same, or right immediately after onto that channel as well. And you can program how often you want it ran.
Okay.
Are we going to be broadcasting Monday morning with the mayor over the power poles?
I don't know, people would have sat down and listened to 2 hours of that.
I'm just wondering how it would affect business in Midtown.
I think it would improve
chase
it.
everybody out,
That brings up.
Or it could
News you
force-
could use is all I gotta say.
It could force them into the business so they don't have to listen to it. So maybe
That's
that
always
helps.
a possibility.
When are the bars open? Mr. Mayor, Ronnie, are the merchants pretty happy with the volume? There was a concern over that initially when we were setting the thing up.
So it's been a couple of weeks since we've had a concern on the volume. We've made some adjustments, and it's a really neat and convenient system. Again, like I mentioned, you can adjust them on your phone, but you can also adjust the speakers individually. And so we have done that. One where there was a second story where really adjusting the volume wasn't the answer. We actually lowered the height of the speaker so it wasn't blaring into
Right
the
into
second
that.
story. But we haven't had a complaint on volume in, like I said, in around 2 weeks. So it's just a little matter of just troubleshooting and making adjustments.
Thank you.
What are the hours that you normally play
10 to
music?
6.
10 to 6?
Yes, sir.
And your baseball tournament that you had the other week, really good move thinking on your feet, and with forced closing, letting some of those folks that had come up there with
Yes.
their travel trailers and whatever, park in that area out there. That was pretty good thinking. So,
I wish we had thought of it a little earlier. I think, mean, a lot of people, more people would have taken advantage of it, but when you try to make plans when you go somewhere, I'm sure the majority of them already had something lined up, but.
okay, it was
What
good.
about this weekend's tournament, or same opportunity to?
No, we just really haven't had much request. We did visit with the tournament hosts, and there wasn't really, they didn't see the
It wasn't an
demand for
issue?
it, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I drove by White Mountain that one weekend, and I didn't see a whole lot of trailers parked out
I
there.
think I saw 2, and then,
The other 2 or 3 or something like that, but.
okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thanks, Rodney. Manager?
That's it, unless there's any other questions.
Nope.
Mayor, one of the things I did want to mention is that we have hired 2 companies to assist with the solid waste removal of debris.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because, some of our guys are getting behind and trying to keep up. It's been pretty tough, so we have the mayor did sign off an emergency.
MP Chavez and Tanner Irons.
Yes.
With heavy equipment to start moving this stuff, because it's all over town. It's
That's
just,
why I've seen his trailer around.
it's just a fire hazard that we need to get out of the way, and so we're moving forward as fast as we can on that.
Yeah, we just haven't been able to keep up in-house, so.
And it may be reimbursable. So we're hoping. And while I've got the microphone right now, I just want to congratulate, I know he's going to get tired of me talking about it. Chief Chavez did an excellent job last night, that we were requested by the Republican Party to show up and ask, what are we doing, what have we done, and plan on doing for active shooter after the Uvalde and all the other things that have happened. And we were happy to say we've been working on a plan. We had the sheriff there, we had several school superintendents there, and Chief Chavez came out clearly as the expert and really put on a good show, answered all the people's questions. So the comfort level was high, and they were very appreciative of what everything's been done. But again, great job to Chief Chavez, so thank you. Okay, we'll move on if no one has any more questions of the manager. And we have any reports from municipal officials? We'll start with Dr. Jackson.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. All I have to do is shout out to Parks and Rec, because the activities at the White Mountain Sports Complex were phenomenal. Those playing fields looked a lot better than the links. And they were backed up all the way down, and I appreciated very much the way they got the parking areas mowed down so that we didn't have a problem with fires from catalytics and all of that. And it was very well orchestrated. And I enjoyed walking around. The dog wanted to chase the ball, but we didn't get there. So the walking and biking trails are equally used. I see a lot of people are using good sense and going out at 8 in the morning or before and getting in before 10 just because of our June heat. Capital projects continue on. I think we are, as the mayor said, about 50, if not a little north of that, especially the Horton Complex, because that will house our dispatch center and the municipal court, and the AOC, the administrator of the courts, and the magistrate court is, well, I see footings in and stemmed up for plumbing and others, and I think it's well on its way. It's really changing the architecture of that whole area. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilor Coughlin?
So the only thing I'm going to talk about this time is I got a financial report from the landfill, and because we're a partner in that, or depends on who you talk to. But anyways, year to date for the budget, they're at 80% of revenues. Expenses are at, you want to guess, Rifle?
120?
That's
40?
what I was going to say, 120.
51%.
51%, half of it.
51%, but we know what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah, rebates,
They're not going
city.
to want to do any rebates, so.
Right.
They'll get a rebate.
So the landfill's doing pretty well, but, there probably won't be any rebates. That's it.
Wow.
That's the landfill.
That is one of those,
Trashy situations.
yeah, that we got into. Yeah. All right, Councilor Hooker?
See, I'm learning from you.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, I would just mirror the Parks and Rec. On Sunday, I went out to Grindstone, did some kayaking. Everybody was great. It was good to see other employees out there working, knowing that they were getting some of that overtime, and I'm sure benefiting Parks and Rec and them. So it really worked out well. Center Street looks good, and then I saw they're just about done with the building. Just about
Knocking it down.
Yeah, there was one wall when I drove, 2 here around there. So again, great job, everybody. Stay the course. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Joe Eby?
What about Susan?
Oh, I was going to start that in. Susan was next, and then the Mayor Pro Tem.
All right. Well, thank you, Mayor. First of all, with all the flags out, I just want to recognize all of the veterans and all of those who have given their lives for this country in the past. The Memorial Day just recently here, so I just definitely wanted to recognize them and tell them all thank you. And for anyone that's out there listening, if you are a veteran, thank you for your service. And if you've had family members that have given and or sacrificed, thank them too, and thank you for supporting them. Plant 3, I took a tour of Plant 3, and it's phenomenal. It really is phenomenal. Each and every one of you ought to go out there and take a look and see what has been done under the watchful eye of Randy Kane. I got to witness a automated backwash, and they had all the people out there from the engineering company, but I especially want to recognize Dennis Atwood. He was a programmer, and Gary Grubb, he built the panel, and he was also a programmer. But they did a phenomenal job, and you all would be very, very impressed with that. It's just, it looks really sharp. It's a very clean, and it almost looks like a brand-new plant. It really does. I did go to the New Mexico Municipal League for a board meeting, and it was the first time ever that we didn't have a quorum, so we didn't accomplish anything. But I had a nice trip to Albuquerque. And I did see a few of you there on Election Day. So I'm going to just throw this out there, is that we thanked our veterans for keeping our homeland free, for keeping the United States from being invaded by foreign entities that would wish to invade. They put their lives on the line, but when it all boils down to the end, they don't pass legislation. They don't write legislation. They don't pass bills that keep us free or would take away our freedoms. It is your legislators, your elected officials that do. So come November, vote.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mayor, for letting me get on my spiel there.
You bet.
Was it a pretty good turnout for
We had
our election poll?
we had 976 show up at the convention center. Early voting was just over 700, and I don't know the exact count of the other voting centers. So it was about 25% of Lincoln County residents, registered voters, came out to vote.
That's good.
Okay. Councilor Letterman.
Hi, Mayor. I'm going to make your day, and I'm not going to say a word.
You already did.
All right, we'll see you soon. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I think I was the only one well, he laughed, I won't say it then. I was gonna say I was the only one complaining to Rodney and stuff, but then said he done a good job and continues to. I like the newsletter, Mayor. I got some comments that came in that, you know, we didn't know this, we didn't do that, but the one that really stood out was our P&Z, David Myers, on him helping out that one resident. I forgot her name, but I was really glad to see that one. And in our neighborhood, a shout out to Cash from the Forestry Department that he, Mr. Myers, who lives a couple of houses down from me, was just very, very appreciative of Cash explaining everything, doing tree thinning and stuff like that for him, and how quick he responded and got to him what he needed to do. So that was very complimentary to all our departments, I would say, but for our forestry department. What I was going to complain to Rodney about was that he answers a majority of the concerns that come in that I send that way. And he's very accurate, or at least he directs it to who needs to get them the right answer, because I got out of the habit of saying, no, I don't, that's not my department anymore. I don't deal with that. And they still tell me, well, you should know. And I said, well, I should, but I'm not sure. So call Parks and Rec and go from there. Swimming pool, as he mentioned, is doing excellent. I spent 2 weeks over there pretty much every day, taking a break because 2 of my grandkids are in California right now. So they'll be there for the remainder of the summer. But as far as all our projects, that is still our advertising, because once again, everybody was saying, you know, I mean, we've been talking about this milling of Gavilan and everything there. I got 2 calls this morning. Hey, you didn't tell us that this was going on. I said, I sure did, you know, I mean, just be ready. And that's where again, I mean, it's, I don't know. I think everybody that got a COVID shot lost some memory cells or something like that, so, including myself. But, and I'm glad if Eric gets here, and that's what I requested, Mayor, because there was some concerns with the meander culvert right there on Gavilan, and I went by there yesterday, and yeah, it's a box culvert, a 4-foot culvert, and it's halfway full right now, so it's like, and according to the report that Eric provided, that's requiring I think a 10-by-8 culvert to go in there. And when I talked to Tim this morning, of course, that will be in years to come, but in the preparation as we enter monsoon, that we just be extra prepared for that little bottleneck right in there.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mayor.
All right. Well, thank you. And just to touch on what you said about complimentary or compliments to staff, I get them all the time these days, and it's really awesome.
It is.
Trina and Toy and those guys up front, I get them all the time, and so we're very appreciative of the staff.
When it comes to the roads, it seems like there's two different types of comments. One is complaining about the condition of the roads. The
Yep.
second is complaining that we're shutting down the roads to fix them.
Yep.
So the constant is complaining. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, the constant.
Okay. Oh, it's constant.
I know, and you've told me to stop complaining, so I'm trying.
Yeah. So anyway, do we have any public hearings today?
Mayor Crawford, members of the council, no public hearings.
Okay, we'll move on to regular items. Regular item number 1 was removed, and hopefully we'll be picking that one back up pretty quick. Item number 2 is discussion and possible action on resolution 2022-22, a resolution of acceptance and approval of the fiscal year audit. And today we have with us, and know that Judy's not going to be here with us, but we'll
Yes,
have.
Mayor, Karen and Chris Gardner will be presenting to us today.
Okay, so Chris will be.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We had, what I have here is just a highlight from the presentation that we did back in December at the exit conference of the audit. The audit took some time to get to the state auditor's office. We actually got the okay to print. We addressed some of the things that they asked us to address. And then their new fancy system broke down, and it took about 6 weeks to finally get it finalized. And so it was slow getting the okay to print, but then it got complicated a little bit more. So that's why we're just now coming to you, because the process took a little bit of time. They actually had to go the old-fashioned way and upload it manually instead of it being automatic with their new system. So anyways, what we have, again, like I said, is just the highlights from the audit process. The first required communication that I wanted to go over is the results of the audit. We issued what we call an unmodified opinion or a clean opinion. It's a type of opinion that the village wants to receive, so that is a good thing. So our report in your financial statements is a clean opinion and what you want. We have 2 other reports in your audit. The one on the left is what we call a yellow book report. And with a yellow book, the New Mexico State Auditor requires us to do yellow book reports. And it makes us look at internal controls. So in a regular audit, we could take your payroll cycle, we could take one transaction, walk it through the system, and we're done. Well, with a yellow book, we actually have to pick samples. We have to test those internal controls over all your different cycles. So it expands what we as your auditors are required to do. In addition, the state audit rule requires us to look, I think there's like 15 items that we have to look at. Things like travel and per diem, procurement, use of credit cards. So they expand that yellow book test also with other populations that we have to look at. In that report, we are not giving an opinion. All we're doing is spell out how we're looking at internal controls differently and expand it upon what regular auditing standards require us to do. And so with that report, we do have a few findings that we'll talk about at the very end as a result of that internal control testing. The report on the right is compliance with each major federal program. So the village spends more than $750,000 of federal funds. You're subject to a single audit is what it's more commonly referred to. So what happens is we have to look at certain grants, and there's compliance requirements that have been established by the federal government. I believe there's 12 compliance requirements now, and they're not all applicable for every grant. So as we go through those grants, we have to make sure that the village is meeting what the federal government has spelled out for you to meet with the administration of those grants. And as you can see here, we do issue an opinion on that portion of the audit, and we are issuing an unmodified, again, the type of opinion that you want. We could potentially have findings as we do that compliance testing, but we did not have any. So all the transactions we tested, we had no exceptions. The next required communication, I think this is really important for council. And the whole reason
I'm just surprised I didn't hear a yay or anything on that, because that's a great deal. That's like continuous. We're just getting used to getting these clean audit findings, and that's awesome.
Yeah, we'll have a few findings, but I think as a counselor, and I'll talk a little bit more about this later, is what you really want to see is how is management responding to those findings. We have a few clients where they repeat year after year because management, their governing board, don't take them seriously. And so, it was several years ago, but the village had quite a few findings.
Oh, yeah.
And has worked extremely hard to get rid of those findings. Now, not everything's always going to be perfect. So many transactions go through the village. There's going to be something. With this ARPA funds, you had one set of rules, things change. And, it's kind of a moving target with some of the funds that you've had dealing with that. But the village has always done, since my involvement, a great job of responding and dealing with it. And that's what you want to see as council, because you have holes. There are holes in some internal controls somewhere that maybe don't get looked at. They might not be significant. They're really, not a big deal. But every once in a while, we're going to unfold those. And what you want to see as a council, how we deal with those. How are we adjusting with those? The findings have numbers for a reason, because it tells you what year that they were created. And as we go through, all the findings we have this year are brand new. So what you want to see as a council is how are those being dealt with. And I'm kind of skipping everything and going kind of talking a little bit about the findings. But to be honest with you, when we were going through those, we had discussions with the manager, with the finance director, talking about what do we do? How do we fix this? And it was before the audit was even finalized that I think those processes were already starting to be established. And that's the culture you want to see as a council. And Mayor, I know the 1 year you guys, I use you as an example all the time, and we can't talk about the findings until this audit result. Right. You guys were extremely proud because you finally got down to 0, and you've had 0 for the last few years, but this year we do have a few. Mm-hmm. And it just means we're enhancing our controls. That's what you want to see, is that we're adjusting and we're working on them. So we'll talk about the findings at the very end. This next slide, the reason for this communication is just to let the council know how are our records being maintained? How are they being kept? So when we come through and do the audit, if we have problems, we're supposed to let you know. And as you can see on this slide, we didn't. And when we ask questions, we did about half the audit remote, half here on site. Even remote, your records are being maintained well enough that they can be uploaded into our system in a timely manner and in good fashion. And so all the documentation is being very well maintained, and that's really the reason for this particular slide. The audit went extremely smooth. As we asked questions, we got those invoices, POs, all the support very timely, and so your records are being maintained well. To me, this next slide is really another important one. As finances get tight, you want to make sure that you're making your decisions as a council on good numbers. And what the reason for this communication is to let you know, we as auditors didn't come in and have lots of adjustments. There was actually no adjustments. And what's really kind of hard in our state is DFA will tell you, they can't prove it, but they'll tell you and they make you adopt your budget on a cash basis. Well, cash basis accounting isn't GAAP. So you have to maintain your records on that cash basis, because that's how you have to report to DFA. That's how you have to monitor your budget. And that's how your budget gets evaluated at the end of the year. Well, that's not a methodology that's accepted by our standards. So it has to be converted to 2 other methodologies, to modified accrual and full accrual. So on all 3 bases of accounting, your accounting department did a good job. We did not have one single adjustment. We typically usually have a few, but your processes and your procedures have really done a great job in identifying any adjustments, and so they're all taken care of. So the whole reason we talk about this is, as you as a council are making financial decisions throughout the year, you can feel confident in the numbers that are given to you, because your finance department has set up good processes, good procedures to get you accurate information. So as you're looking at those numbers, you should feel confident we're making the right decision based on good numbers. And so, again, I think this is probably one of the more important communications. The next two slides are the final two things that we're going to talk about from the required communication. If we had disagreements with the management, we'd let you know. And again, we did not have any disagreements. The audit was smooth. We were given good answers. We were given timely answers. So there's really nothing to report. And then the last one is very similar. If management felt that they needed to consult with another auditor, another accountant, the standards require that we tell you that. And again, the audit was smooth. We did not have any disagreements. There was nothing really to talk about. And so there were no other communications with any other auditors. Last slide, if we go to the current year findings. Actually, yeah. We did have 3 findings this year. The first one is relating to cash receipts. And I know, Mayor, you were involved in this discussion from the very beginning. Processes have been changed to address this, but there were certain cash receipts in the court system that were not getting into the village coffers. And so there's a breakdown in controls. The policies that had been established by the courts were not being followed. To be honest with you, courts have kind of been a hot topic in the last couple of years. I have a few clients where the judges are not very cooperative and they're going to do what they want to do. I have a current client that he's telling the council that he's rectified, he's done all the segregation of duties and proper things, and I can almost guarantee we're going to have a problem again. The nice thing is when we were dealing with this, your judge was very cooperative, was very forthcoming, was willing to run processes through the village, and a lot of times the judges really don't do that. And so I think it's very fortunate that the judge was willing to work and follow the advice that was given to him. And so again, we did have some missing receipts, but as far as I know, I think the procedures have been changed and are now being
Right, and I can speak to that. Yes, Mayor, Council, we do have all of the court's deposits running through the village now. They are no longer depositing their own money. The village takes care of it all here. So those receipts will be handled
Daily.
differently. Daily. Yeah, the village has 24 hours to deposit any money we receive. So they're doing that through the cashiers up front now.
And, we'll skip down to 3 because we did have an instance where it wasn't being deposited daily. And now that it's going, we've never had exceptions over the last 2 or 3 years. The state auditor changed this rule. It really wasn't being applied to municipalities. They took an interpretation, I think 3 years ago, and said, auditors, we do feel it does apply to municipalities. So it is something we've been looking at the last 3 years. And with your treasures and the cash collections done here, we've never had any exceptions. I think this was the only exception we had, but now that's in-house. So that should more than likely be resolved this year as we do the audit. The other finding was relating to...
Mayor, Chris, if you may, on the first one, we're actually talking about the cash receipts and handlings, and those internal controls have been corrected. So the journals are being brought over, the ledgers, the daily ledgers, and being reconciled to cash and whatnot. So those procedures have been corrected as well. Right.
Again, when the issue is first identified, we all got together, how do we fix it? And that's, again, what you want to see. That's the type of response, if I was a counselor, that I would want my management team to do, and that's exactly what happened. The next one is contractors. As part of our testing, we had some issues that were related to the tourism contractor, where there was some anti-donation violations, where there was some free pro tickets that were given that were used by the contractor that really should not have been used by the contractor. It was really the village's earnings that should have happened. There was a process where POs were being done after the fact. And Mayor, you might remember this was a problem throughout the whole village at one point in time. And I think Councilor Eby, you were there at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Councilor Salas, I think you were also. And you too, Councilor Coughlin. So I think we have really tested a lot of those POs, and we really, outside of this particular department, everybody has really adhered. The problem was, we got a water leak, right? So we're going to circumvent the internal controls. We just didn't document at the time why.
Well, that's now being documented. So we've done a much better job, unfortunately, with this particular department. That reared its head again, but it was only a few transactions. We're not seeing a pervasive problem like we saw in the past. And so that particular department had a few purchases that were done ahead of the approval process being followed through. So the other thing is we had the actual contractor was going through and doing agreements, which is in violation of village policy, and I think that's it. So again, discussion when all this was raised up, as we were going through the audit process, how do we fix this? And I believe that processes have been established to make sure that this does not happen again in dealing with contractors, not just with this department, but with any contractors of the village. And so with that, I'll open up for any questions.
Okay. Questions, anyone?
No, I think, I would say that we expected this, you know, and talk about communications. We've been communicating about this all along, so that's the great thing with the council and the mayor and the management, is we've been talking about all this. We knew there was an issue, we got it resolved, and it's not a surprise, and I'm glad that you've got these on here because we knew they happened, so it's not a big surprise. Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
I may be mistaken, but I'm just used to an unmodified opinion, and this is the clean quotation. Clean opinion was the first for me. I mean, have we had clean opinions last year, or?
Well, clean is normal speak, unmodified is their speak.
Okay. Yeah.
To me, unmodified, if I was in your seat and didn't understand it, wouldn't mean anything to me.
Right.
That's why I always put clean opinion, so that you know that's what you want to see.
What we want to hear.
Tighty-whitey, that's what it is.
Well, we appreciate that, and, you know, we learned, because with the court system, we were always taught separation of powers, don't ask, don't tell, or whatever, but we knew we provide funding for their budget, and so when it's village revenue or whatever, so I was glad that we got that all squared away.
Yes.
And then the other one was an independent contractor, so we've learned to watch that better, so. Like I said, a lot going on. So anyway, well, we thank you very much. So would we get a motion to accept?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-22, a resolution of the acceptance and approval of the fiscal year 2021 audit.
Second?
Okay, any final discussion? Roll call, Ron.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin?
Aye.
Counselor Hooker?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay,
Mayor, if I may add to that, as soon as we get that resolution signed, we'll need to get that to DFA.
okay.
So,
So whenever I can sign it, I'll sign it.
okay.
I mean,
Sign it now.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, slip it to me now or whatever, and we'll get her signed. And then what I want to do is bounce down to item number 7 next, so we can get fine folks from the Humane Society back out to take care of all the puppy dogs, which I do appreciate the Facebook friends of all the puppy dogs that are adopted.
I want Abel to stand closest to the microphone.
Okay. Mayor, Councilman, how you guys doing?
Good, we're doing good, and please try to speak up because we have folks out there in internet land that would like to hear, and just if you would introduce everyone that you have here, please.
We have Miss Debbie Barbie, she's our board president. This is PJ Schuster, she's our treasurer, and I'm the operations manager, Abel Guzman, for the Humane Society.
Welcome, you guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Guys. We first of all want to thank you guys for the support that you give us. It's been a great relationship with you, working with you guys, and it has continued on. Even with the new animal control that you guys have, he's learning the ropes and how things go, and we're working together just great. So everything's been working well, and we appreciate your support very much, what you guys have done for us. How we work together, everything's gelling together just great.
Well, we get a lot of compliments on all the things that you guys do, and like I said, you know, we are very attentive of your Facebook presence and all the things that you do, and I think that's very clever, the way you guys post those and get people in. And I've been in there several times, and there's always people in there.
Oh, yeah, it's
Thank
a
you
very,
guys are
very
good.
busy place.
Yes.
It's been.
So, what do you have to tell us about what you got going on? And
Well, I mean, we just wanted to just go over what happened last year on the numbers that came in, and we had 683 animals from the village that came in, and it was a little bit higher than the year before, but everything worked out just great, and we adopted out over 796 animals. We had returned to owners, it was 341 animals, and we transferred out quite a bit of animals also, even with the COVID going on. So it was great numbers that we had, and we appreciate your support again. We've been working more with animal control on getting the animals back to their homes, contacting the owners, the licensing part of things. It's been working out great with that, and making sure the animals are having rabies shots that they need. So it's been a great team effort all.
so, and you guys are chipping the animals there?
Yes, we do still have a low-cost chip program. It's just $30 to get the animals chipped, and every animal that comes in, we do offer it to the owner. Of course, it's not required, but we offer it to them, and a lot of people do get their animals chipped because it is such a low price to get.
Abel, I'd still like to continue working with you to make that required.
That would be.
Yes, I was just gonna speak to
I
that.
would like to get rid of animal licensing and make it mandatory chipping
To
instead.
chip them
Yeah.
It
instead.
would be a one-time thing, really. That chip stays in
Exactly.
the animal for their lifespan, so that would be
Next, it'll be
awesome.
us.
I've already.
Yeah, next thing you're gonna say, then you're gonna demand that we're chipped.
It's painless, don't worry.
And all animals that are adopted are chipped.
Yep.
Yeah, they don't leave our ownership without having a chip and being sterilized too.
Absolutely. You did mention something about transferring animals out. Now, I know you've got a problem with your van, so talk about that.
Yes, our old van has served us well, but it's down to the last miles, really. So we're right now in the process of raising money to get a new van that'll help us to transport even more animals that we can. Right now, we're only able to transfer 5 to 8 animals, depending on the size. But with this new van, we're going to be able to double, even triple the amount of animals we can transfer to other shelters, to other states, nearby states, and so we're working on that. That's our next big project right now.
That is our next big fundraiser. We're trying to raise about $50,000 to purchase that new transport van.
And how far are you along right now?
About 17,000
Yeah.
is all that we've collected so far. But we have some events coming up that we're planning, that we're putting it out there, and we're hitting the streets hard begging. We're gonna be talking to some dealerships, seeing if they can help us out too. But right now, the van is out of commission, so the transport for this month is not happening.
But we've only been talking about the van about a month, and we've already got 17,000. So we're going in the right direction.
Yeah, Laurie, our finance director, just said the other day that a person came in at a dinner that she was visiting with some friends of hers, and she mentioned it about the van, and they gave her a check for $10,000. Now, $5,000 went to the van, and $5,000 was designated for something else, but that was a very nice donation that we got. And as far as our finances, I'm sure you know that, we're kind of sliding into a recession, that ugly R word that might show up, but the stock market is down horrendously, as I know very well, because I deal in the stock market a lot. And so I have a fear that over the next 6 to 12 months, the lovely donations that we normally get might trickle off, because people have to pay the bills that you guys send them or that the government send them, but they don't have to donate. And so when things get tight in the pocketbook, I fear that our donations may kind of go down this year.
But speaking to that, we did not raise the number that we're asking for you guys to pay for bringing your animals there.
No, we appreciate what you guys gave us last year, and so far that's worked out, and we appreciate it.
And,
Thank you.
and our community is very supportive of us, very supportive. I'm just afraid that, you know, if people, there's definitely a slowdown, if not a recession. And when there's a slowdown and people start having to decide which bill to pay or this or that, they're not going to be nearly as willing to donate. So I'm afraid our donations might trickle off. We'll see how our Fur Belt goes this year. That, you know, that's our major fundraising event. It will be occurring in August. We certainly encourage all of you to come, buy a ticket and come to our Fur Belt. It's August the 11th. And that.
At Alto?
It's going to be at Alto Lakes Golf and Country Club as per usual on August the 11th. So, you know, we really want to encourage community support for that.
Furball.org to get your tickets.
To get your tickets.
That was really good. What have you specified the funds from Furball to go to? Because I know in the past it's been going towards building the shelter. And now that that's all paid off, so how are you transitioning Furball, and what is the funds going to?
That's going to our running account now to help out in that area.
Just our general operations.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, I'm already starting to see a drop off in donations. It's been happening already, so you gotta, as a nonprofit, you gotta start getting creative and come up with other.
Right.
Well, we're gonna have to put that in there because, our funds are getting kind of low, and now that we've paid off the building, we took a lot of our money. Even though most of it did come from, the Hubbard Foundation.
But we did put in big chunks, like part of the match thing that they set up for us. They wanted us to get our loan paid down to a certain amount. And so we took out of our general operating fund like almost $100,000 to get it down to that amount that they wanted it down to. And then we had to raise another 90,000 or something over the next 90 days for them to then kick in their 400,000. And so that kind of drained our accounts a little bit, and we're having to really hustle to get them back up so that we can make our payroll.
Which, things are working out. The puzzle's coming together and all that, so.
I mean, they've been very generous,
Yes.
and now you've got
Oh,
the new
it was
building, you're not in the old
Yeah.
building anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
And we've had a few enormous expenses that we were not planning on. We have a plumbing backup that we're getting fixed, and that's $9,000 or more. Our plumbing was ruined, our sewer was smashed
The
and
resale
broken.
shop, yeah.
So it had to all be dug up and redone.
But again, we did not ask you guys to help cover any of that. We're just looking to take care of the animals you bring us. So we left our request at $80,000.
How's the thrift store doing?
Thrift store is doing really
It's
good.
doing quite
It's,
well.
the numbers, it looks like we had set a number to reach, and it looks like we're gonna be surpassing that again this year. Every year, we've surpassed the numbers we set, so it's going good. It's going good.
But it still isn't enough to support the shelter. You know, we live by what comes in from the municipalities and donations.
And donations.
What other municipalities are donating?
We have the county, Capitan, we have, of course, the village, Ruidoso, and we have a contract with Ruidoso that's.
In the Downs.
In the Downs?
And the Downs, yeah.
Yeah, all the cities or villages plus the county. So there's about 5.
No Mescalero?
No.
No.
No, all their animals are supposed to go the other direction down the highway.
Otero.
Yeah, that's in Otero County. That's not, we're just Lincoln County.
Yeah, but how many dogs do you pick up from there?
None.
None? They don't bring any over there?
No.
I'm sure once in a while.
There's
one-
animals that
There's
come to
people
you
that'll-
that
yeah.
I'm sure
people
they
pick
get
up and don't
sneaked
say
in
where they
once
got
in
them
a
from.
while. You know, they'll say, well, I found them over here on this road when they actually found them over
In
there.
that room?
Yeah. Well, we'll get one that crosses over to Lincoln County
But I
once
think
in a while.
the main thing that I would like to impress upon the village council is I would, get down on my knees and beg to please pass an ordinance to make it mandatory spay, neuter, and chip.
Well, I
Make
think
it
spay and
mandatory.
neuter is, isn't it?
For what?
For, and, the citizens
make-
to have animals?
To make every citizen
No, it's-
mandatory?
Oh, well, Bobby told us at a meeting one time that it was.
No, you don't have to neuter your animal if it's your animal.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think you need to make it mandatory. It would sure cut down on the number of animals that come to the shelter. It would cut down on the number of litters of puppies that people don't intend to have, and then they're out there at Walmart giving them away. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, Albuquerque has a mandatory spay and neuter ordinance, and I think we should definitely try to get one done here. Spay, neuter, and chip.
Bobby told us it was.
No, he never told us
Or
there is
spay
no
and
ordinance
neuter.
on the book.
In the ordinance, the way the licensing works is if they're intact, there's an additional charge.
I see,
But
okay.
how many animals do we have within the village and how many are actually licensed?
Well, I can tell you Laszlo's still running loose. He hadn't got, he just won't go down and register.
Yeah, there's tons of them that
Keep
don't.
forgetting.
So,
Well, that's why I think it needs to be mandatory, and if they want to.
We got
not-
enough laws that we can't enforce anyway.
Well, that's kind of what,
But those could be enforced. When
That's
those
kinda what
animals
Bobby
show
had
up at the
explained.
shelter, it's like, well, then you're gonna get them.
So when they show up at the shelter, they have to get licensed.
Yes, sir.
So you charge them for the fee.
Yep, and also if they do not have any rabies, they can't show proof, then they have to buy a voucher from us to get the rabies shot. So that has worked out really well. Each year it gets better and better, and we see more animals from Ruidoso coming in that do have the license, or they are with their mandatory vaccination. So it's been working out pretty good.
what are the plans for the old building?
That's what we're all trying to figure out, because that's a mixed
We've been talking to
thing.
Ron about that, and I think what we've decided as a board that we would like to do is just sign it over to the village.
well, we want to first get the rest of the paperwork together, because we have not seen but just a small portion of that special warranty deed that says that the land belongs to the village and the building, we were to use it for the shelter. We need to get first the paperwork. We've got to get some more information together before we can make a formal proposal. That's not even close right now to being,
Where does that paperwork exist?
Well, it's gonna have to exist with the village, because I was told we're all pretty new, other than Abel. And when we started talking about it, I managed to call one of the older board members that had been around a little bit longer to find out where would this paperwork be about that we built a building, but it's your land, et cetera. And Kai Brown said that what happened with a lot of our paperwork, why we can't find it, is because when our offices were on Sutter at one point, and there was that big flood, and the building got flooded, and all of our paperwork that was in those cardboard file boxes got all wet and ruined. So that's why we can't seem to find any of the paperwork. So hopefully the village has
Would that be
something.
at the county tax records?
Mayor Crawford, members of the council, I asked the community development to ask the county, and they did do some research. We did get the plat of the actual property, from the county assessor showing the land and the improvements on the deed. Here within the village, I haven't found anything showing that the building belonged to us or to the Humane Society, so we're still searching for that. But according to the tax assessor, Samantha, it showed the values on there, right on our property assessment, as the building being part of the village, owned by the village, so.
that's what I saw too, because I had someone look that up for us. And it showed that it was the village property. I don't know if that's true, but I was hoping to form a subcommittee to look into it and form a formal proposal.
So that, I believe it shows them being together on the village because the assessor can't separate out a building and a property. They have
Right.
to assess it all as one.
Exactly.
A long time ago, I requested some documents from Irma, and one of them was regarding the dog park, because that at one point was there was a lease given to the Humane Society to build the dog park, and then once it was completed, it was signed back over to the village. And there was something in there, and I believe it was from the 70s, is that there was an agreement with the Humane Society that the building was built on village land.
Yes, that's the way I understand.
But it was built by the Humane Society.
Yes.
So the building, and then when I used to be on the board as well back 11, 12 years ago, something like that. And it was always known, and Kai was the board president at the time, the building belonged to the Humane Society, the land belonged to the village.
That's what I understand.
And that's where it is, but I don't know where those documents are, and it's gonna be an agreement is what it's gonna be. It's not gonna be on any tax records or anything like
Yeah,
that.
it's just gonna be some kind of written agreement.
Yeah, there's some kind of an agreement that was passed, but God, that was so long ago.
So,
It was very long.
the warranty deed that I have the little blib on, you may have seen that. It was just about a paragraph, stated that, but it was in 1984.
Okay.
So I think that it would be somewhere in there to start looking, but as I said, we have no formal proposal at this time to
Right.
bring to you.
Well, what is the condition of that building? I mean,
I haven't been in it
The building is
in
in
a
very
long time.
poor condition,
so, I mean, it's been suggested to me that it just needs to be demoed.
and it probably
And
does.
you guys, I mean, it seems silly, this is just me talking, they're raising funds to take care of the animals or whatever, and then for them to have to demo the property. I mean, it just seems.
Yeah, as I found out talking to Ron on the phone, because y'all recently demoed some small building, and it cost like $35,000.
I thought it was 60 grand, was it 35?
For the old water shop, what was it, about 35, 37?
And then for the one over by Wingfield Park, I think he mentioned that's gonna run over $100,000 to
Yes.
demo that building. So it's not cheap to
No.
demo a building.
That's essentially cost prohibitive for us at any
Right,
time right now.
well, that's my point.
Yeah, and part of it has to do with whether whenever the building was built, if there was a way to substantiate that would help to determine whether there's the possibility of asbestos being in there. If there's asbestos, forget it.
Oh, yeah, that's even worse.
Now, what about the trailer that used to be the spay neuter clinic out there? Is that, last I drove by, it was still there?
It's still there, yeah, it's still there. I mean, it's.
I suppose that we could put it on our website and see if somebody wants to buy it and drag it off of there. I mean, that's a possibility.
That was bought with a grant,
It was
The
in
trailers?
2008, I believe.
something like that. So there may be some value in
There
that,
might be a little bit of value in that.
and then you don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, there you go.
So I don't know if you guys have any interest in it as far as adding it to the sanitation department there or for parking. But again, my intention was to form a subcommittee to actually look into that and study it a little bit and then bring a formal proposal to you. Unless you tell me right now that you want to take it over.
I'm not gonna say that right now, but we'd like to just find out who's on first and what's on
Exactly.
second.
That's why I'm saying that's not something that I feel
And I
like
know that Debbie
we
has
can-
mentioned that she would like to kind of, for on our side of it, just table that as far as making any decision until after the fur ball, because we're just like running
Well,
around like.
that's
No,
why
we
I want-
get that for sure.
I want to, in September, like I said, get a group of people together that can, because I have a realtor, an attorney, and definitely some very qualified people on the board that could help look into this and make, some recommendations, and then we could, draft a proposal for you.
Okay.
You might want to reach out to Cindy Lynch. She might have information. She was on the board then.
Just reached out to Cindy Lynch this past week.
Okay.
With
But-
Kai Brown, so yeah, I'm thinking this way too, but.
Just to clear it up, though, that Ron Senya and I had talked, and we're just, batting things around like we are here about that building and what to do about it. And he was telling me about the cost of demolition, and that was as far as it went. And somehow a rumor got out that I said that you guys had to demo the building, and that was not said.
Oh, I hadn't heard that one.
That was not said.
But still, I'd like to say,
Well,
we're
that's why
not
they
in
call it
any
rumor
position.
dose and not real.
That's why we call it
Exactly.
Ruidoso, yes.
But we are in no position at this point to offer any kind of recommendation. We haven't studied it closely enough.
Okay.
Do we know if the utilities are still connected there?
No, they're not.
They're
No,
all-
well,
they're
they
all
might be
disconnected.
connected, but they're turned off.
Everything's been disconnected from that.
Do you have any further questions for any of us?
Nope.
Oh, I just had one, Mr. Mayor. because it's kind of near and dear to me. You have is it a spot clinic, PJ or Abel?
Yes, we have a
And-
spot
And
clinic.
how's that working in terms of funding? Because that's the heart
Well,
of
we are
spay and neuter.
constantly having to scramble for the funding, and that's why we had asked each municipality for a little extra $1,000 donation to go toward like the World Spay Neuter Day that we did. However, our veterinarians are kind of waffling on doing another one for this year anyway. They might do it again next year in February, but we were wanting to do one like in the fall, like September, October, and they've said, we're not doing another one this year.
Well, that is something that still is yet to be negotiated.
Spot clinic is a,
It's low cost.
It's for low cost,
cost
and we
spay
have a
neuter.
little brochure
Oh.
that goes out, and it was just $10, and I think each family could get 2 animals done for the $10 fee, or $10 each animal. But we have not printed new brochures to distribute to the community, and we're thinking about putting them like in the kids' backpacks that they send home, with them for the weekend, just to get the
word out.
get the word out to like some of the lower income people, et cetera. But we're thinking we're probably gonna have to go up on the amount that
Yes.
we're asking them to
We're
pay for that.
negotiating that with the vets
Because
also.
the vets are gonna go up on what they're charging us, and soon as we get that worked out with them, we're trying to get a meeting with them, but it's kinda hard to get all 4 or 5 of them together all at once.
So we have the spot program and also the TNR program that helps with the wild cats around town. That's
Feral or
$10 as well.
community
And
cats, whatever word you want
those
to call
two
them.
programs have been running great for the past 4 or 5 years. It's had an awesome impact on the population of
There's definitely a need
strays.
for it. People take advantage of it. We kind of have to scramble every once in a while. We have to suspend the spot program occasionally because we run out of funds. And then we have to go out and beat the bushes or have little special events that all the money's gonna go to spot.
All
And right,
those little banks that you see around town, those are specifically for the spot and
Oh,
TNR
okay.
program.
say that again? The what?
All those little clear banks with the pictures on them that you'll see at a lot of businesses.
Uh-huh.
like at the grocery store, et
donation.
cetera.
They're not at Albertsons
Hardware
anymore, 'cause they
stores.
wouldn't allow us to have them.
They wouldn't.
No.
Well, they set you up a program when you check out, they'll ask you, would you like to put $1 or 2? Because they have all these different programs. We'll wrangle Harley and those
Well,
guys.
maybe we'll
Yeah,
ask
well,
about that.
Twist his arm a little bit.
Well, we'll just call Harley and the deputy or the vice manager, whatever, is already gone. He's gone off to
Yes,
another one.
He got another look, he got
And
another.
so they'll be moving somebody in, so we'll just work on those guys all the time. It's not gonna cost them a dime, but, you go up and you pay and they say, would you like to give $1 or 2?
Sure.
Yeah,
Those
right.
things work,
They work really good.
great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we need to call and check into that one, because, yeah, they just had us come pick up our little banks. So.
Well, tell him the mayor suggested that you come talk to him and then I'll talk to
And
him.
what is his name?
Harley
Harley. Oh, I should be able to remember.
Harley Estes.
Harley Estes.
Think of a motorcycle.
Okay,
Yeah, blonde guy.
okay.
So what about treats and all those kind of things? I see that you put out every now and then that you need treats and stuff like that. What kind of treats?
All kinds.
Yeah, there's no specific one. Whatever anybody can give us, really, we'll take in. It's been
Okay.
great.
Yeah, I mean, we always ask for like cleaning supplies,
Peanut butter
Clorox, pine
for our
salt.
Kongs. Dogs love peanut butter.
Yeah.
Keeps them busy.
The only way you can get them to take a pill.
Yes.
Exactly.
Pill pockets.
All right, well, thanks for what you do. Of course, I know Gary could talk about dogs all day long.
Right,
I can too.
so could I.
Anyway, appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Consideration and,
Thank you for supporting us.
Okay,
Yes.
so item number 7.
Talk about mandatory spay and neuter.
Okay. Item number 7.
Mr. Mayor, I'll beat them to it.
Okay.
'Cause I know these guys just really want to make that motion, but I'll make the motion that we approve the agreement between the Village of Ruidoso and the Humane Society of Lincoln County for the sale, safe and humane control of animals and the protection of the citizens of the Village of Ruidoso in the amount of $80,000.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, Ron.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Lutterman,
Aye.
Counselor Eby.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, folks. I appreciate it. Item number 3, discussion of possible action on ratification of Resolution 2022-009, 2022-25, a resolution approving the acquisition of real property located at 1114 Meacham Drive, Ruidoso, New Mexico, in Lincoln County. And so, Billy, it's foregone conclusion. Mr. Manager, do you have anything to add to that, or should we just get a motion?
Mayor, Council, as we said that we would bring final actions, but at the last meeting on, I believe, the 24th, Council did give administration authorization to move forward on the development and acquisition of this property.
We did, and you did. Okay.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve ratification of Resolution 2022-25, a resolution approving the acquisition of real property located at 1114 Meacham Drive, Ruidoso, New Mexico, in Lincoln County.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, Ron.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin?
Aye.
Counselor Hooker?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Since it already passed through P and Z, I guess that's appropriate.
Nails are in the coffin.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, did anybody notice that we have our groupie back today? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, yeah, I think this is a non-cake council meeting today. I'm sorry. You were lured by false pretenses. We apologize.
I told him ahead of time, we don't have cake every meeting.
Mayor, Councilor, we actually, in the purchase agreement, the pre-proposal agreement, the previous owner did agree that we would move forward with the P and Z meeting, but then we ended up closing on the property prior to the P and Z meeting, so we owned it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a done deal. Okay, item number 4 is the discussion of possible action on first renewal agreement with Zach Cook, LLC, for professional services as general counsel of the Village of Ruidoso. And I've had discussions with Zach, and I think the manager has, and we've came up, so I've actually put his name back up for approval.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve first renewal agreement, Zach Cook LLC, for professional services as general counsel for the Village of Ruidoso.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I would like to say that considering this is for legal services, this is the least number of words I've seen on a renewal ever.
Yeah, that was part of the deal, to cut that contract down. We use less words now.
It wasn't paid for by the word.
Okay, anyone else? Roll call, Ron.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Hooker?
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Item number 5, discussion and possible action on contract amendment number 1 with Cutler Repaving, Inc., through the New Mexico statewide price agreement number 90-805-19-16759 for pavement resurfacing and curb line milling on Gavilan Canyon Road, Warrior Drive, and Paradise Canyon Road, increasing the contract amount by $274,721.53, including gross receipts tax. And has anybody noticed the different spellings of Gavilan Canyon since the fire? How many people can spell it different? Anyway, yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor. This increase is due to inflation on the cost of oil. We were able to negotiate with them by cutting back on some of the trucking fees and still come under the $3.5 million grant amount. So we're still right on the budget, but we did have an increase in material.
Good job. And everybody understands that. We've had plenty of discussion on this matter.
Yep.
So if we can get a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve contract amendment number 1 with Cutler Repaving, Inc., through the New Mexico statewide price agreement number 90-805-19-16759 for pavement resurfacing and curb line milling on Gavilan Canyon Road, Warrior Drive, and Paradise Canyon Road, increasing the contract amount by $274,721.53, including gross receipts tax.
I'll second.
Okay, final discussion. Roll call, Ron.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Aye. Counselor Hooker.
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin.
Aye.
Counselor Salas.
Aye.
Counselor Lutterman.
Aye.
Counselor Eby. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item number 6, discussion and possible action on contract with Cutler Repaving, Inc. through the New Mexico statewide price agreement number 90-805-19-16759 for pavement resurfacing and curb line milling on the Upper Suttereth roadway in the amount of $182,429.25. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Cutler was in agreement to add additional work on doing the circle as well as partially down towards the Midtown area. We're able to save on the mobilization fees, and so this is a great price for us to be able to do this pavement resurfacing in this area that's much needed.
Okay. Anyone else? Any questions?
Mr. Mayor, if I
Yes,
may,
sir.
just for the layman, the unknown, do they just fall onto this because they're already here in their previous contract? We didn't have to go out and say, hey, this is a whole new project. Somebody else has to have a chance?
We're doing it under the statewide price agreement.
Okay, so you don't have to go out again?
No.
No.
Excellent.
No.
Thank you.
And Mayor, Counselor, this process, one of the reasons that, I've used them in the past. It saves about a third of the cost of a normal project because they're recycling the material back in, putting some rejuvenating and laying it back down. So it's a very efficient way. This company, it's a patent process that they have. And, this company goes around, really the whole nation. They mobilize. And so when they're in the state, if we piggyback off the state price agreements, we can get a lot more resurfacing done for, less dollar.
Excellent. Thank you.
But Josh and those guys will still be doing the circle.
That's correct.
Yeah, so the equipment can't get around that area, so they'll be doing that part of it.
They'll be able to mill around it, but we'll have to pave it.
When as they start paving, if you like, we could take you out to the project and actually show how it works, but it's a big, long train where they're going through, recycling the material, then putting it back in and laying it down. So the lay down machine and the scarification and the heat process is just one train that moves. Pretty cool process. And, they have been working with Dick and the forestry to make sure that they're, not mitigating any fire hazards that may exist from the lay down machines.
Okay.
Does this include, or how far into on Main will we go? Are we just doing the circle?
Just, with this one, we are just going to the circle, yes, sir.
Okay.
And then ourselves, our map project continues from there up East Street and around Resort back into Grindstone.
Okay. But we're getting where we just put the sewer line down. That's gonna be
All new.
Okay. That was the concern.
That's going all the way down Resort to Grindstone.
Right, yeah.
But the area where
But-
we had to cross cut, street cut and all that stuff 2 or 3 times and set in, all that's gonna be brand spanking.
Mayor, Council, Smithco is actually the contractor on the Circle Lift Station job. They're actually gonna repave, or actually mill up and repave that whole section, but it won't go all around the circle. That's what Josh will be doing, and then Cutler will put up with it.
Okay. Okay, well, so that's just right in front of, the area that we're talking about is down there by, the 24-hour fitness and Chihuahuas. So they're gonna resurface that, and then Cutler's going from.
Cutler's going in front of Chihuahuas.
Yeah, they're going on.
Cutler's doing in front of Chihuahuas, not
All the way to
General
Peñas,
Hydronics.
right?
Cutler will be coming from the light at Sutter to Meacham, all the way up to the circle there. And then where they put the patches there, it's actually in the contract for Smithco to repave that section. And then Josh will take it around that section and up East Street.
Oh, so it's a small section, Smithco. Okay, gotcha now. Okay.
Cutler can do like straight, long pulls.
Right.
Yeah, I can understand that. Okay, any other questions? I get a motion?
Where's that?
Number 6.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion that we approve contract with Cutler Repaving, Inc. through the New Mexico statewide price agreement number 90-805-19-16759 for pavement resurfacing and curb line milling on the Upper Suttereth roadway in the amount of $182,429.25, including gross receipts tax.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Anybody have a discussion, question? What is curb line milling? Would you explain that?
Curb line milling is where they actually leave, they can mill right up to the curb, or as on Paradise, they're actually leaving about 6 inches, 8 inches of asphalt on the side. So that gives them a curb to pave up against so that the asphalt doesn't push out.
Yep. And we learned something?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Roll call, Ron.
And make sure that the road tapers in correctly, because we're doing an 1.5 mill and putting back 2 inches of blacktop. So the curb line milling actually brings it, towards a smooth transition.
Help water run off and everything else.
What's a crown on it?
Yes, sir.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Eby,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin,
Aye.
Counselor Jackson.
Aye.
Attaboy.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Item number 8, discussion and possible action on amendment number 1 with WSP USA Inc. for additional professional engineering services for bridge replacement projects in the amount not to exceed $47,523.11, including gross receipts tax.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and council members, this amendment is going to include additional survey work for the underground utilities that are at each bridge location, and also for property survey to locate the corners for the properties. During the workshop meeting, when I was going through the process and stuff, the proposal that was submitted by WSP mentioned exactly this, where the scope of work was presented, and it also states that any additional property boundary information or any other SU work that's not listed would be brought back as a separate contract. With that being said, a lot of the different survey work that's being done and have been done, I know it's been a learning process for me, myself, learning the different types of surveys. I guess at this point, it would be like to know when we present these things, all the different elements that may play into a survey, the detail. So when we're presenting these things, as we did with the WSP contract, we didn't go into the level or the detail or the extreme, what we call the additional survey work. Each surveyor, we can mark the boxes. What I'm learning is that even when we mark the boxes and say this type of survey, if we don't go into a narrative and explain exactly what the expectations and what we're needing from a survey, then the survey will, or the engineer will call out what exactly we put on paper. When I said that it was an oversight, that's what I felt like, is because when we read the details and learning these things, and because we've gone through these things with Molson and with the previous surveyors that we've had on the hazard mitigation or all 3 of the projects on the sewer line, I feel like when we bring these additional services in, it's almost better to go in the route of you're doing a basic and then come back to council for needing more or additional, because if we didn't need that, it wouldn't be proposed. Or I would like to get maybe some feedback or direction from the council how they want it presented. Would you like us to include everything that could possibly happen and then do it in a way like it's time and material? Or should we continue doing like what I feel like we're doing here and presenting the basic, what if, and then just keeping you updated as to additional survey work that's needed as needed?
Well, I think we'll start off with an answer from Captain Change Order Coughlin as to what you would like to see.
Well, on this, aren't we contracting with somebody who's supposed to help us navigate the FEMA process?
Yeah, and that would be?
and, well, I'm not mentioning names.
Okay, high mountain, I mean, high water
If we're
mark.
contracting with them, shouldn't this be something that they're helping us along with, instead of us having to find out on our own? Otherwise, what's the point of paying somebody to help us out when they're not helping us out?
Mayor, councilors, it'd be my recommendation, the process that we actually go through, the scope of work was developed by a PTAB advisor, and that's where our capital projects department worked with, and that's who helped us put the scope of work together for the RFP. When we put that scope of work together, the RFP, and we put it out, and the people that are proposing on it should be coming back and saying, hey, by the way, you're asking us to perform this work, but you only called out this level of surveying. To complete this, we probably need these additional services. And, I think they did talk about that up front, but I don't believe it was ever addressed. So I think that's the conversation. They should be taking a look at the people proposing should be taking a look at the scope of work and saying, to get to that level of detail that you need in design, these are the services that we need, and that's what was called out. So I think we do that with different scopes of work. I think we just, how we respond, and I think we get better as we go along and more educated on some of these processes. So I think that's my recommendation, is that we engage in that conversation.
Except I would say that if somebody's dealing with contractors, as little as I have, they're going to bid what you're asking them to bid on, even though they know that, well, this isn't going to work. You're going to have to do something else, because then that's going to be a change order. But why rock the boat? Let's get the contract, and then we'll come back later with the change order, which is not going out for bid and probably has a little bit higher profit margin in it.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor and Councilor Coughlin, what we're learning and seeing more of is that, whether this is called out in the very beginning, like I said, and we can list anything that we can think of that might come up, or whether we come back at there's not going to be, when I see this, I don't feel like it's going to be more on the back end, because this is just survey work. Now, when you get into contracting services and doing construction, that might be the case. But the survey work and the work up front, that might be put into a project as this, where we're looking at each bridge, and each bridge is so different and so unique. We're seeing a lot of that. But if I can add to that, WSP did put that in their proposal, that if we did call out for X, Y, and Z, that would be a separate contract.
So this is on the 6 bridges?
Yes, sir.
And so what was our guesstimate on the total bridge cost? Do you remember?
For each bridge?
Oh, I know, for the total.
Approximately $6 million.
That's what I thought, $6 million. And so we've got engineering that we've already got those engineered, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And so what you're asking us is that these guys would, I'm just trying to make sure I understand what exactly, I want to make sure all of our holes are plugged.
Yes, sir.
That somebody's responsible that we've hired other than us. Because we are not the professionals, we're hiring all the professionals, and then we still have a hole. So these guys are to make absolutely sure that whether we have to have whatever kind of, I don't care what it is, they come up with different ones, historicals, environmentals, whatevers that come up, that these would be the people that were able to scope those out.
Yeah, what we're asking for here is for additional survey work for this underground utility locates.
That's all this is for.
Yeah, and the property boundaries, like the corners, to identify the corners.
But it won't trigger any of that other stuff.
The other stuff is, okay, when they
That's
lay
through
out,
high water, Mark.
when they lay out the corner boundaries for the properties, then we get to see what part of that property is affected. From that, that's the data that gets sent to FEMA, so that FEMA can actually write the environmental assessment. That's who actually writes it. We just provide the information to them so that they could actually write that. So when you're talking about calling out that historical and all that, FEMA writes the A, and if I remember right, it goes from the there to the, can't remember the entity's name that does the actual review on the environmental.
SHPO.
SHPO, there you go, I'm sorry. So there's a process that happens, and so that's going to help that with these property boundary marks there. But,
Mayor, again, it goes, our PTAP advisor, we don't pay them, that's a voluntary service that they write out the scope of work. We put this contract out, the contractor said, these aren't included, so that's why I'm saying at that point, we should have said,
yes,
if we're gonna be doing these additional services, we should have recognized that then and worked it into the contract.
absolutely.
And they do it on a time and materials, and they give us a schedule, so they're not increasing prices on us. They give us those schedules up front. So, I mean, they're increasing costs because they're asking for additional services.
Right.
But they're not substituting, saying, I'm giving you a level 1 engineer compared to a level 3, or, those prices are established.
And then easement acquisitions and all that stuff would be an additional separate off of what they come
Well,
back.
no, that once they provide this, then we have the data we need to actually, when you get those corners, to identify what properties are being affected and how, so that we could start looking at. We already have identified who we think we need to engage in, but as soon as we get this data, it gets put together, then we'll be able to start working on it.
Mayor, and I think you're correct, then we would need a surveyor to help us develop the easement agreements, and so that's going to
So
be.
it's not the end of the story is what I was
But
trying to
isn't it, maybe it's just me, but it seems like it's quite obvious that in order to start working on a project, you need to know what your boundary information is. So that should have been an obvious thing that we should have been included in the very beginning, because otherwise, we're gonna go out and we're gonna build this thing, but we don't know exactly where it's gonna go and where our lot is and somebody else's lot is. That seems like just a very obvious thing that should have been figured out from the beginning.
Well, the engineering is just a bridge itself, and then they're making sure that the property that they're attaching it to is in our boundary. And if it's not, and stop me anytime I'm getting off in the weeds, that if we need more boundary to make this engineering that's accepted and everything work, then we will then get a survey to acquire an easement for that property.
Yes, sir, that is right.
And so we don't know one till we have the other,
When you go through a bridge type selection, you don't necessarily know the footprint that it's going to impact. There's quite a bit of other work.
And that's been dictated by you-know-who.
But again, it seems screwy to me. It's like, here's our property, we need a bridge.
That'll fit this property.
Well, not necessarily, but we need a bridge, but they already have that, but we know where the lots are, and it's like, well, because of A, B, and C, the bridge design cannot fit on that property, you're going to need additional space, but at least you got already your boundary lots, your boundary corners, and you know where it's at. I don't know.
That all in the name of staying within the ordinary high water mark and such that is also.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's one line in here, and in the financial impact on our memo, the type is different from everything else, but it says the village will be reimbursed for actual eligible expenses.
Yes, sir.
And you know what that means?
That means submit it and we'll see if we get reimbursed?
No, well, in this case.
Actionable, eligible.
In this case, we have kept DHS, the state and the FEMA involved. As a matter of fact, we did even write this into our request for time extension that the manager will be reviewing, and hopefully we'll get that out by the 15th. It's not due till the 30th, but we'd like to get that in early. But we are keeping them engaged every step of the way, especially now with Phoenicia and Allie at the state that they're not as versed in our stuff. We're keeping them very much apprised of what we're doing.
Mayor and Council, I think the intent of that is to realize that this isn't a cap project like the Shoreline project.
Yes.
Okay, it's almost like I said, the font is different, and almost like it's a little, the legalese down at the bottom of the contract, where it will be reimbursed for actual eligible expenses. Well, is it an actual eligible expense, or is it one of those things that, we'll roll the dice and find out?
And I guess maybe I'd word it that way, we're actual eligible expense, because it is, that is where, again.
That sounds like their language,
Right, and then it's for us, we have to make sure that we're presenting, documenting everything that's an eligible expense. That's how it becomes eligible, we're documenting it. And then too, like Mayor has mentioned several times, is that's one of the things we hired High Watermark, is to make sure that we're doing things that are eligible.
Okay.
Clear as mud? I think we're getting a better handle, and I understand what you're saying, Councilor Coughlin. You know, but the thing about it is this is not like the sewer line. It's not a capped. So,
And Mayor, you know, Council, a lot of what we're dealing with is there was, you know, never proper easements and things of that nature put into place, and as-built for utilities, and, you know, there's a lot of moving parts with this whole thing.
and then we went from box culvert to span. Bridges for flooding and all the different things of that nature, so.
Which made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Would I entertain a motion? Yes, I would.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve amendment number 1 with WSP USA, Inc. for additional professional engineering services for bridge replacement projects in amount not to exceed $47,528.11, including gross receipts tax.
Second.
Any final discussion? Roll call, Ron.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
Counselor Eby.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Karen. We'll have item number 9 is discussion of possible action on change order number 5 with General Hydronics for the Cree Meadows Trail in the amount of $57,771.65, including gross receipts tax. And this will be the highlight of the afternoon, because I know Councilor Coughlin enjoys these so much. And Mr. Griego has had plenty of time to explain it to
It
us.
is Kevlar on.
Mr. Griego.
Good afternoon, Mayor and councilors. So, today, I have a change order regarding, the Cree Meadows Trail project. So the change order is, recommending the approval of some work completed and additional work that needs to be completed. On the work that was completed, just a little explanation. All of the work that was completed, it was not pre-approved through the NMDO process, but it was necessary to keep the project moving along. So we had a realignment of the trail to avoid the Village of Ruidoso utilities, which was a water line on this far east side of the project. Due to that realignment to avoid the utilities and having to relocate that water line, so it created the need to have that portion of the trail resurveyed. It created some additional material that need to be excavated to prepare the site. And it also, let's see, and then it required some, and then there was an additional issue of, there were 3 driveways that were originally not paved. And so, the village requested that they pave those, not the entire driveway, but just from the edge of the road and connecting it to the trail, so we didn't have any issues with the vehicles driving up and down the path, and it would be also easier to maintain as well. If we were having to maintain those gravel driveways and the gravel on the trail, it would be something that, it would be a little intensive for our department, an operation that we normally don't proceed. And so again, all of those projects we felt were needed, and we didn't want to delay the project. It's just they were not pre-approved in the DOT process. In order to get pre-approval, you would have had to take a substantial amount of time. It would have taken putting the project at a halt, not to mention they were doing the paving at the time, and it would have caused remobilization of equipment, and it appeared to be more efficient and effective at the time to have that work completed when the contractor was on site. As far as the additional work goes, the additional work, the majority of it is not necessary, but it would kind of make a complete project. One of them was tied to the remobilization of the equipment to do the work. There's a removing of an existing culvert and install a swale. That was an area where the culvert wasn't evident in the design process, where we were removing that parking lot. When they did some excavation and work, they noticed that the culvert was there. It could stay there. It's just not serving a purpose right now. It's a culvert in a drainage ditch. You don't need to drive across that area. It was just for the previous parking lot that was there. Again, in part of the some of the excavation and paving work, they did notice an additional buried culvert that when they exposed it, it needs to be extended and have a like a bollard, a reflector placed there, because it's a steep drop now that they've exposed that culvert, and a safety concern. And then on this far eastern stretch, where they realigned the trail, whenever they were grading out the bar ditch, they exposed several culverts that were covered by a foot or two of dirt that hadn't been in service in years, it appeared. And so that wasn't part of the project, and so as you all have probably noticed, all those culverts have not been cleaned or maintained. And that item would be to clean them out and prepare them for rain. So the total of the work completed and the additional work that we're recommending to be completed is a total of that $53,276.45, and my total excludes the GRT. I believe the total that you all mentioned does include the GRT, the $57,771.65. Includes the gross receipts tax.
There's 17,000 left in that balance from the grants and everything that we had, and so the 40 grand would come from general fund.
That's the way I understand it.
Okay. Anyone?
So, looking at the history of the change orders, the original contract price is still higher than the current price with this change order. So why do we have to, were we paying something out of that original contract price, or was that all through the grant?
So I would defer to Karen to help me explain that.
Because the original contract price was $533,357, and this is saying that the contract price, including this change order, is $524,847, but in the memo, it's going up to,
There was additional, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
Mayor and Councilor, there was additional funding provided that was taken from the village. There was additional funding in that. That isn't all grant. So I think Judy, when she put that 17,000, that's what's left on the grant money. That's the residual that's left over.
I'm not sure if you heard his question correctly. He was saying the amount in the original contract is above and beyond what our final contract number.
Mayor, Council, if you remember, there was some culvert prices taken out and then that were ended up being covered. So there was some adjustments that occurred during the project.
Correct, right. There was I think 1 through 3, there were some deductions there. And then 4, we added some more money back in. And then 5, we're now adding more money back in. But we're still less than the original contract price. So that's why I'm saying that you were just saying something about $40-some thousand we're going to have to come up with. Do we really need to come up with $40-some thousand, or was that part of the original?
I think Judy Ray put it in.
Yeah, Judy, yes, sir, but that, you have to remember when we took the pipe out and paid for it because the village was going to use it, and then they allowed it. So it was back and forth because, remember, DOT wasn't going to allow it because we weren't using it on the project, so we wanted to go ahead and pay for it, and then they were going to allow it back in. But I know that the in and out, I know that Judy had to put more money into it. So the residual if I'm making any sense at all, the residual amount, the 17,000, is grant monies that's left over.
Well, what he's saying is, we had the grant, we had some matching.
Right.
Okay, that was that amount. Then we deducted 28,950 for the 24-inch CMP, 300 linear feet. Then we had another deduction for a junction box, 2 of them, at a total of 11,800. Then we deducted a median drop inlet, 7 of them for 35,000. Okay, so we had those deductions. And so that would have reduced it from the 533,000. So now then, I think what he's asking, if I'm understanding, is that we're adding back in 57,000. And so if I do my math, it's half a dozen, 60 other with still a little bit left over, but we're saying that we're going to have to take 40 grand out of our pocketbook. And so was there additional monies that we saved somewhere that went back into general fund, or am I asking the question right?
I think you are. You're
Pretty
on the
much.
right track. He's looking at.
If you look at the change order, it gives you the history right there. It says the original contract price was 533,357. Change orders 1 through 4, there was a decrease of 61,785. Put the contract price prior to this change order at 471,571. Then there's an increase of 53,276. Puts the contract price incorporating this change order at 524,847, which I went to public school, but that's less than the original contract price.
Yeah, I was gonna say I went to school in Oklahoma, and I can still figure that one out. So somewhere, I think it's just a numbers game.
So did we take money out, like the mayor said, and put it back in? And so now we got to borrow the money that we saved before?
Well, it's increasing back because we did do the deduction, but the overall, I see what you're saying. The overall doesn't look like it's.
No, it looks like we're still about 4 grand to the good.
Right, because we did change orders to decrease, and now at the end, we're going back and putting the money back in.
But it's still less than what the original was.
I agree with you on that.
It's, if I'm not mistaken, the work that was completed but not pre-approved is not a reimbursable expense.
Exactly.
And so that's probably where that's gonna fall onto the village, and it could be a part of our match, but it's not reimbursable. So out of the total contract of like the $600,000 grant, 84% comes from the feds and 14 comes from us. It could come out of our 14%, it actually has to.
Yes.
Because it's not reimbursable as part of their 84%.
That's why it's putting back in. Yeah. It was not.
Well, I'm confident we got it figured out. I'm just not confident I'm understanding the detail. I just don't see it in enough
And
breakdown.
I'm sure that's why at least this portion of the 30,000 is, because it has to come out of the village's portion. It cannot be, it's not reimbursable because they did not pre-approve it, therefore they would not reimburse it.
So then, let me see if I can put this a different way. The original contract price, we took out stuff which went back through the grant and removed it out of the grant amount. And now because we had some stuff that was not pre-approved, that really shouldn't be, that's separate from the contract price because you discounted it down, but then you're having to reach into the other pocket to pull money out because it's not all kept in one pocket.
Right, and that's exactly right.
And we couldn't keep that money because it wasn't,
Right.
we couldn't reapply that money to this because it wasn't pre-approved.
Because it wasn't
And it actually, in the end, it's our project.
So, yeah, and it's gonna go towards the match.
Okay.
Like
Oh,
the
yeah,
council.
yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
So now then you got it. That's why we call him Captain Change Order.
Well, and, you know, like I said at the workshop, there's some of this on here that I can see being justified. Others should have been known ahead of time. And that's one of the things that frustrates me is when we get these change orders on things that were, you know, should have been kind of evident, then they shouldn't be change orders. They should have been
Deficiencies in the.
obvious to the professionals that in the beginning, we need to take care of this. And I'm seeing that happening, not necessarily on a regular basis, but quite common, you know, and that's a frustration to me.
Okay. Anyone else? So I need a motion for approval, please, or you can tell them to cram it. It's up to you guys.
I'll make a motion to approve change order number 5 with General Hydronics for the Cree Meadows Trail in the amount of $57,771.65, including gross receipts tax.
Second.
That Oklahoma came out there just for a second.
Yeah, I couldn't, the money.
Any final discussion? Roll call, Ron.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin,
No.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman, she left,
Yeah, she had to leave.
Counselor Eby.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 10, discussion and possible action on additional services request number 2 with Bohannon Houston, Inc. for construction management and construction inspection, Cree Meadows Multi-Use Path, and Bohannon Houston, Inc. in the, I just know it's coming. In the amount of
You saved the best for
$740 and no cents, including gross receipts tax.
Do you want me to just make a motion now?
Just we've
I'll
been over
move to
this.
approve additional services request number 2 with Bohannon Houston, Inc. for construction management and construction inspection, Cree Meadows multi-use path with Bohannon Houston, Inc. in the amount of $12,740, including gross receipts tax.
Second.
Final discussion?
I bet you he votes no.
Roll call, Ron.
Counselor Coughlin,
No.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Jackson,
Golden Fleece, no.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Eby.
We didn't have any discussion, but, aye.
Yeah, we did. I said any discussion. and
Oh,
we
okay,
just
I'm
went-
sorry. Go ahead.
What did you say?
No.
He said aye.
I missed
Aye.
that. Aye.
Okay,
Is that a?
so it passed. We almost had a kerfluffle there that we were approved the work, but not the oversight.
Thank you.
I think again, and I know we're making a lot of comment and all that stuff, and it is frustrating. It really is, sitting here and seeing that kind of stuff, and going back to what Karen was asking about. I think that we should see as much as we can starting out. Here's the potential. This may cost $1 million instead of $900,000. And then at the end, if you come back and go, okay, well, it was only $900,000, then we're for the better. But, when a director, and I know I've done it, has to come in here and sit and get beat up, it's a little rough, and it may not be completely their fault, so.
But I'm glad to say that in your case, Rodney, you're the messenger. You're not being fired at.
No.
You are the messenger, so.
I understand, and I appreciate you all. Thank you all very much.
Mayor, before we end the agenda, Eric hasn't shown back up, but Adam does have the information, and has been involved with the hazard mitigation and working with Eric on this. So Adam is prepared to have a discussion on how we're approaching this.
It's kind of like buying a car, and then as you're ready to drive off the lot, they go, oh, by the way, you have to pay for the tires. They weren't included.
Or you're gonna need $100 to put gas in it. Yes, sir. 150. Yes, sir.
Mayor, Council, just a little update on the mitigation for the McBride fire. Working with Chris Phillips, Eric's actually been working with him a bunch. There's 5 locations proposed for like check dams and debris fields. So I'll kind of start with the first crossing. As far as what Chris Phillips had come up with is above Janet Lane on Gavilan Canyon. It's right next to Teal George. Okay, there's a canyon there. The county actually came in and put another 36-inch culvert there.
And hit a gas line.
Yes.
Blocked the street off for hours.
Yes. So there is actually 2 culverts in there right now. The one's at the bottom. The one that the county put is actually at the top. And one of the things, talking with Chris, talking with Eric, and I think everybody agrees on, is just like Upper Canyon. You get woody debris coming down the channel. It doesn't matter how big of a culvert you got, how many box culverts you got, it's going to clog up. So one of the things that he's looking at is debris fencing up above. And there's debris fencing at Janet Lane. We call it Janet Lane. And actually, there's debris fencing down where the power grid is there in Gavilan. And then moving down to Warrior Drive, They're proposing an 8x10 culvert, box culvert, basically like the ones we have. We took out a close road. Same thing, you know, if you get debris in there, it's gonna clog up. The good thing about Warrior Drive, I'm sorry, the close road, Warrior Drive is if Warrior Drive did overtop by some chance, you know, during the flooding, it actually has a place to go. It's not gonna flood anything out. It's gonna spread itself out, you know, where the well is and over here in the field. Number 3 location is.
Wait, Adam, you said an 8x10?
He has it marked down here as an 8x10.
Okay, because I'm seeing it here as 8x8.
I think he went up, but I think Eric was proposing an 8x10 on that one.
Okay.
Moving down to Meander Drive, that's where it kind of gets a little bottlenecked. As of right now, talking with Chris Phillips, there isn't really room to put a bigger culvert in Meander. The ditch itself is not big enough to carry the flows, the 100-year flow that he's proposed on the plans. So one of the things that Eric said is, you know, during the FMAG part of this investigation, that's when that'll come up and see what kind of mitigation we can do on that piece. Eric is proposing, you know, going to the woody debris. You know, he doesn't like the Russian elms and all that in the ditch. So I think that's one of the piece of it that he's going to try to get mitigated out of that ditch and help the water flow a little better.
Remove them?
Yes, sir.
Like prior to.
So where's that, is that?
Don't do that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Where's that work coming from and who's paying for that?
I'm not exactly sure how that's.
Where does that come from?
The Russian elms, that are in the riverbed or creek bed, he said that he was wanting to have those removed before the monsoons. And I was just asking who's doing that and who's paying for that and how does that work?
Mayor, from some of my understanding from some of the projects, some of it is on forestry, and forestry is going to be undertaking a lot of that work themselves. Some of these are going to, some of the items that he's going to be talking about are within village limits, so we're going to have an 80-20 if it's approved.
So this is like an NRCS thing?
I believe so.
So yeah, NRCS and what Eric calls the FMAG, basically the federal funding from
FEMA.
FEMA.
Under the hazard mitigation, there's up to 80% would be eligible.
So, like I said, with the study that Chris has done, you know, the compacted earth fill in the ditch, actually up above the beginning by Teal George there, coming down the canyon to slow flows to, you know, catch actually the silt debris, and then the debris fences up the canyon above Teal George there, above the cemetery to catch the debris is our main, I think the main concern right now.
Okay, any other questions?
Is there a section there by the schools where he's going to be having some type of coffer dam?
By the ballpark?
Which would push it into the floodplain and disperse it?
Yeah, that was on Warrior Drive. Where if it overtopped, it actually goes into the floodplain on the.
Yeah, down there by the water well and then
Yes, sir.
to the other creek bed in front of Moon Mountain.
Yes, sir. And then the culvert that crosses for Moon Mountain there is, I mean, it's of course undersized too, but that's not a big deal because you actually are in the floodplain also. So if it does overtop, it's not going to hurt anything.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Adam.
Okay, we have closed session?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so can I get a motion to move into closed session, please?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we move into closed session for discussion of limited personnel matters citing 1015-1H2 NMSA 1978. Further discussion subject to the attorney-client privilege pertaining to the threatened or pending litigation in which the Village of Ruidoso is or may become a participant, citing 1015-1H7 NMSA 1978. And finally, discussion of the purchase, acquisition, and/or disposal of real property and/or water rights by the Village of Ruidoso, citing 1015-1H8 NMSA 1978. Any action taken as a result of the closed session will be brought back into open session, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Eby.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, meet you guys back in executive
Mayor,
session.
if we could invite the chief and Cheryl.
Chief and Cheryl.
Chief and Chair.
All right, well, thanks for attending. We'll try to have cake next time.
Yeah, I had to go to the dentist first.
We love that.